YouTube. It's Brian Phillips. It's been like at least 5 minutes, so we're gonna unbox this box right here. There is no package markings anywhere on it. So we're not even sure what it is. We think we know what it is, but we're not sure with certitude. So I'm not gonna say anything until we open it. We've been surprised before.
We have.
Oh, it is what we thought it was.
Okay. I figured so.
All right, good. So all new from Hobby King, the H King Kitfox in yellow. So you may have noticed that this released here a while ago, and we also noticed it released a while ago. So yeah, we had a really good contact going, and then China China'd it all up. Thanks, Hobby King. Here it is, the Kitfox, beautiful. Plug and fly. We've been really impressed with the products that have been coming out, just not necessarily with the changes in procedure. And so if you're seeing this a little later, you're trying to make a decision because you heard about it. Sorry, you'll have to let China know that by voting with your dollars and cents. By the way, support Brian Phillips RC. Order from the links in the video description below. We're just gonna show you the specs here after I get this top off. The builds have been pretty smooth, so we'll see how this goes. This has 2 different lengths of wings, which is weird. Yeah, they've got these wing extensions. That's why you see the ailerons are shorter there. But see the length, that's set. Where's the width? Does it even
right
show?
Here, sport.
Oh yeah. So 1100 and 1250. So this is, so how are we gonna call this? Are we gonna call this an 1100 and 1250? It's so weird. So anyway, there's 2 different lengths. You can put wing extensions on, and that's gonna change the way that it flies. I know the Kitfox historically has been maybe not like the best flying plane. So I'm kind of curious to hear how this goes. I know there's been a couple others that have been made in relatively recent vintage, and they fly a little bit difficult. So I'm hoping this thing deviates from that principled position there. I really like the way they look, but I was a little weirded out by where the landing gear attached. I hope I can attach them a little bit forward. And this might be a misread on my part, but I felt like they seemed like they were further back than they should be. So we're gonna see if that is just a Brian Phillips, misunderstanding. Oh yeah, you can see in that picture there, except that, did they use AI for that?
You think they're too far?
They're too far back. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe they couldn't get like an actual Kitfox, because Kitfox is like a thing.
Right.
I think.
Maybe it's a
registered
Kitfox.
Yeah, it's like a Boeing.
Yeah.
B-O-Y.
But is it a license?
I-N-G.
Is it a thing they'd have to license? I don't know.
I would imagine that you'd have to license it. So here's the wingtip extensions we were talking about. So we're gonna find out, guys. We're finding out just with you. Ordinarily, we know about these things, I don't know, usually about somewhere between 3 or 4 weeks to like maybe a couple of years early, depending on
how bad
things go. Sometimes they go really good. And so we thought we had a pretty good thing going, but we evidently misunderstood something. That is interesting. So they have an LED on the wingtip extensions as well as the wingtips, I'm assuming, because there's a plug there.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if this is gonna be like the short end, and then there's gonna be another end. This is made of like foam board, guys. That's foam board. That's very weird. EPO foam, carbon fiber tubes, and magnets, and then a JST connector that goes out to the LED. Interestingly enough, it'll be easy to service LEDs on this. Last plane we did, I was complaining about not having LEDs. This thing's gonna have LEDs. So excited for that. This is a Stoll Bush plane, so it makes better sense to have LEDs on this than maybe some of the other competitive offerings we were doing the other day. Although to be honest with you, exactly when I was flying it, I could have used LEDs.
Right.
So a lot of times we fly at sunset here, not just because of where we live and the season that we're enjoying right now, but also because of our lifestyle. And that is that I work a full-time job, and when you go out and work 70 hours a week or 56 hours a week or 65 hours a week or whatever it happens to be on a given week, then you get what's left over. And so For me, that's the way it works out. I'm not sure if that's your experience. Bag of goodies.
I have a messy sack of stuff.
Look at that. That's taped up, but be careful. There's screws in there that might fall out.
Oh,
so
okay.
Be careful.
Oh, I see that.
So that's part of the reason why I really push hard on the LED thing, which is ironic because we pushed hard on the LED thing back when I first got into it because I really like the look of LEDs. I feel like it adds a lot of value for very low input cost for the manufacturers.
Well, and it gets dark at like 2:30 in the afternoon for
During
half our
winter.
year.
During winter. But you know, if they would get the stupid daylight savings into perpetuity passed, that would be great because it sounds like there's all the legislators are pretty much like in lockstep. They want to do it, but who knows if it'll end up happening. It's frustrating because it's a rule that should have never been a rule in the first place. But if we get daylight savings out of it, it'll be probably good. Daylight savings is better because then we shift, like for what we do, we want it to stay dark later, or we want it to get dark later. And I would sacrifice a little bit of time up at the beginning of the day. Okay. Very nice. Soft. But they still have a cool shape. Okay. This is just a detail. I don't think it actually... Oh, it does. It's got a spring in there. That's pretty sweet. This is thick, though. Makes me nervous. This is thick. It looks like real plastic. As in... What, now, how are we going to keep that true? Oh, that's going to be keyed in a vertical axis. You see how that pivots?
Yeah.
So I think what's going to happen is that as this moves out, this geometry is going to potentially stay the same. I'm not sure. I can't figure out how that's going to work. It just seems like it's going to be a lot of moving parts. So we'll see if it actually works. I'm very hopeful that this is going to turn out well and that the organization at Hobby King hasn't gone back to the way things were going. Because it was very different 20 years ago, or 15 years ago rather. We started into it probably about 12 years ago, right? And so every time I got a Hobby King plane, I knew exactly what I was getting, which was a project plane. And they have been like way better. There's still some times when, like, you know, if you compare to apples to oranges, the more expensive brands might have a little bit denser foam, a little bit more sturdiness, maybe a little bit more refined, cleaner around the edges on like the cutouts of the canopies and things like that, except for maybe like the Spitfire, but that was a pain to build. Or like the Grand Tundra was a really good example of a plane. But like that is a lot of movement.
Is it going to get...
I don't know.
Squished in by something else?
Well, even if it gets squished in, I'm just saying, like, if you were to, I mean, there's a lot of movement there, guys. Now, this movement may not seem like that big a deal, except that you have a pinch hinge involved here, it looks like. And I don't see anything embedded. I just see, of course, the steel rod that goes from the left to the right. I'm assuming that's steel rod. And what happens is when this is actuating, then that will provide a certain amount of resistance to bending, but it also puts a lot of pressure on the pinch hinge. And so it can lead to premature failure of the pinch hinge, even though it's a pretty robust pinch hinge. So anyway, not really sure if that's going to be an issue. But like I said, we're just being a little bit more tentative about our recommendations. When there's changes in the way that a company does business, it almost always means that there was a reason for it. And the reason could have been tariffs made things too expensive. It could have been that the people that worked for these companies got sick and tired of stupidity and left. It could have been that the companies were trying to improve themselves and they got rid of what we had good relationships with. And so we always, it like makes us put our finger back on the pulse of the company and really laser focus on what's going on. Because we are not going to recommend garbage to you guys. We will recommend it as garbage if you want garbage. But we are not going to be a mouthpiece for any of these companies. I don't care how big they are. We have tried really desperately hard over the years to be careful about recommending stuff just for the sake of recommending stuff. We recommend stuff that we either really enjoy or stuff that is brand new and we want to bring to market and see if it's any good. But we always tell the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God, because we understand how hard it is to have to go out and earn money to pay for this crap. Okay. Sorry, I hate this packaging style, guys. Hate it. This is just this. If this knocks $100 off the price of this plane, I love this packaging. Otherwise, and I mean seriously, it does cost less. And Hobby King historically has done a pretty good job of trying to knock. Look, you have LEDs in both wing sets.
So that is the long.
Yep.
Or the
So
short.
that's the bigger. I thought maybe there'd be two, and there are two.
Yep.
So that answers that question, guys. So we've answered that question now, which is really good. I do like yellow and white and gold because or yellow and black predominantly, because that'd be like Hawkeye colors. Or if you're like a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I believe that's their colors, right?
Yes.
It'd be yellow and black.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of yellow and black, but.
But no, this is pretty good Hawkeye colors. So I don't want to detract any Michigan fans or anything like that.
You can paint yours if you're really that offended.
Yeah, if you're really, or Iowa State fans.
Yeah.
Or Drake fans.
Or if you don't live in Iowa.
Or if you don't live in Iowa.
Anything else.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really make a big difference, I guess. But I do like yellow planes. Mm-hmm. They're some of the most striking. And it's kind of weird. I don't know if as a kid, I wouldn't have said I really particularly liked yellow. But now that I'm an adult and I understand that there's some like technical things that yellow does better than other colors. One thing I like about yellow is I don't think it fades quite as bad, or it doesn't show the fade as bad as a red or as bad as a black. I mean, a black, man, everything is so hot and it's like so trendy, cool to make black things. So we have a giant black building over there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not black, by the way.
Nope.
If it was black, it's already hot. Mm-hmm. And if it was black, it'd be really hot.
We have a black roof though.
But you have to remember about the delta, the temperature delta. What is there, kids doing crazy things over there?
No, I'm just showing the front of the building.
So the temperature delta when you live in a cold environment, a northern climate, is what I'm concerned about with regard to black. But the temperature delta with regard to an airplane, you're only gonna be flying it during nice months in most cases, especially this type of planes. You're not gonna go out for fun and flying snow and stuff like that. I mean, there are people that do that, but I think the vast majority of people that are flying in experimental airplanes are gonna be flying when it's good conditions. That all being said, you know, there are IFR paid pilots, the instrument rated pilots and commercial pilots that fly these things. It's just, I think the vast majority of people are flying on private pilot license and just doing it for fun. Okay, so that being said, black planes, even though they're kind of like all the rage, they have to be hot inside.
I saw like a Learjet style plane the other day that was all black. It was so weird.
Yeah, but it is unusual that you paint those planes black because they do occasionally.
Yeah.
But there's something about the heat on the way that those planes are built. And that's why a lot of times I think the airlines start with like the white. Okay, so that evidently has to be glued.
Hopefully that's supposed to come out.
I don't know. Got to be an assembly thing because you got to be able to put the tail in. See the tail?
Oh.
This bag is like not very big. So you see what I'm struggling with is like, it's very tight squeeze the way I was holding it. Oh, the wire is attached. That's why. For the tail.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's got a tail light. Okay, very much like that. So anyway, yellow, as an adult, it's not just the look of the plane, but it's about the functionality. Look at that red thing.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
weird.
I saw that.
Wonder what that is. And then there's this, must be a wing spar, I'm guessing. Just kind of an unusual build. And that's one thing that we're hopeful that, from our understanding, the product development team at Hobby King is still the product development team. And so we're very glad about that because there's been some really good stuff coming. And I was talking about yellow paint because I just don't think it'll fade a lot compared to other colors. And I love the way it looks in the sky. Next to a blue sky, it looks great. Next to a backlit sunset, it's gonna look great. I mean, but all planes look black when they're up against the sunset, right? Because you're gonna get silhouetting.
Yeah.
And obviously we fly third person, so we're always watching. The vast majority of the time, we're just watching the plane fly. We're not in the plane like a first person view. Okay. Looks like a wing cable extension for maybe ailerons or something like that. And then these feel like they're metal. We're gonna open those here in a few minutes. But again, I was mentioning that I hate this packaging style. If it saves $100, that's great. Go ahead and save the $100. That makes sense. I can tell you that the reason that I hate this packaging is because you have to brutalize the box to get it out. And my fear is we had one plane we did not too long ago, the Bighorn. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
that was ridiculous to unpack. But I don't think we had any damage though. It was fine, right?
It was fine.
So, and we don't often have a lot of damage, but I can tell you that the standard conventional pull out, the really difficult to pull out foam plug, they just worked really good. I do believe that the engineering on that packaging was pretty expensive. And so I can appreciate why the manufacturers maybe are trying to get away from that. Plus there's quite a bit more foam involved. So if you can provide the same amount of stability and protection with this type of packaging, that's fine. But I just can't imagine, being out at the flight field and having this Unbox experience would be much less easy. Okay. So this wing goes in a little bit weird. Looks like we have a splitter for the LED extensions. Those cables are, they may be extensions here. No, I don't think so. Because look, they're gonna plug in right there. I wonder what the heck they're for. Then the ailerons are hinged up at the top. So that's interesting. Let's get that cut out. Actually, I need to take a minute and clean this crap up. I can't work around it. All right, so now that we got the box out of the way, or whatever that thing was out of the way, we're gonna keep popping this stuff out of the packaging. The piece count's pretty high right now, but we do have redundance on a few parts, and a few parts like wing struts and stuff like that always add a lot to the piece count. Let's talk about strength. Let's talk about looks. First of all, looks like 9-gram servos. Looks like easy adjustments. Phillips, don't know if I trust that. They put the Z-bend back here. That was wise. That feels weak. Makes me nervous. Not that it's going to be a problem, but it just doesn't seem super strong. I hope these are decent servos. Yellow up here. That's interesting. Is it just yellow? I think it is yellow. Because wouldn't that normally be glass?
I don't know.
Is there a piece? Megan.
No.
Okay, so we have foam core here for these fences, and that's just glued in up and around, so it doesn't actually break the wing, which is good. This feels heavy. It's got a little bit of twist to it, not anything too crazy. And then in terms of reinforcement, yeah, the reinforcement goes way out there under the H-King logo. You can see on this side. That might not be reinforcement. That might just be pockets for the wiring. No, there's a little bit here and a little bit here. See, they pocketed that in there. That makes me nervous. I am curious to see how that's gonna work. Now, I gotta say, I'm hoping that this is actually flap-around. I'm hoping we can do flap-arounds without too much trouble. They are separate cables, right?
Yes, they are, that's true.
So the flap-arounds shouldn't be too terrible. The other thing too is I'm not sure where I'm gonna put the receiver, but I mean, looks like we've got a lot of room back here. Of course, that's gonna get blocked by the motor. And then this comes off like this, it just goes up. There's no lock-in point, it's just 4 magnets. Big motor mount. 2814 1050 kV motor, okay. Goes back to a 40 amp ESC. Mine was glued down just a little bit. And it looks like this is an Aerostar. 5 volts. Geez, 6 volts at 4 amps. Good Lord. That's a big S-back. Got big capacitors on it. 2 through 4S LiPo, and it's a reversing system. Okay, so I don't know if that means that we'll be able to use this signal input to reverse it, or if that just means it's reversible in the programming. That being said, it does look like it's got an XT60 on it, which is fine. And curious about how that's gonna work, because it is wide open all the way down the length of it. I'm gonna lay this on its side so we don't damage the connector, or not the connector so much as the cable where it connects onto the rudder for the light, for the tail light. Maybe the piece count's not too bad. This is not looking too bad. Let's keep opening things up. It looks like an APC style prop, 117E. Okay, so 117E, it's got a couple of collars to go around the prop shaft and make this have a nice purchase onto the prop shaft. So we'll just actually lay this over here for now. That'll be part of the later assembly. And then the wing struts, let's see, I think these have some metal in there. They feel like they might be aluminum, but I want to verify that before we continue. So guys, on Brian Phillips RC, we show the entire painstaking process from start to finish so that you don't have to guess what you're gonna get. Here on Brian Phillips RC, we understand that we are reaching an audience of a bunch of people that are returning to the hobby or are brand new to the hobby. Feels like carbon fiber. No, not carbon fiber, fiberglass. Color match is poor, but it's still white. It's tolerable. It looks like they might have built these and then painted them, but they just didn't get quite enough paint on them. You can see right here why I say that.
Yep.
Got bubbling. Again, it's not really make or break. This is unpainted foam. So when you have unpainted foam, the white is subject to a little bit of discoloration over time. And that's one of the reasons why you might want to paint foam. I don't particularly care. Plain, right there. The fall key, that one's unpainted white. This one's painted white. It's an E-Flight offering. This one's not painted. That's a Hobby King, or is that Avios?
Yeah,
painted,
Avios.
painted down there, unpainted. It's just, the problem is to get a really pure white on a foam, you have to have, I'm assuming very expensive foam. It's got to be bleached more or whatever.
The Airbus is painted.
Airbus is painted.
The other white.
Yep.
It's another white one.
But really, I don't care because I feel like it just adds weight and doesn't make a huge impact on the performance of the aircraft. I suppose the way more detailed scale looking planes, I'm gonna care a lot more about. This, of course, being a scale plane, you know, I would lean toward, I wanna make sure it's gonna keep looking good. But if you have a small discoloration in white up against a bold color scheme like black and yellow, I think it's gonna blend nicely. I think even if there is a little discoloration in 3 years, it's not gonna be a factor, okay? And again, it depends on how you store your planes, how nice you are to your planes, that sort of stuff. Okay, so let's dump out that bag. Looks like we have a steering tail wheel there. An adapter for the axle set. We have a couple of Z-bends. And then we have some washers, a total of 4 of those washers. Ooh, there's a third one here. Third one of these. And then 2 short extension cords for servo cables. And it's kind of weird though, because I'm looking here and I see more wheel hardware. Let's see how this spinner goes together. Careful, watch for screws.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was just taped down. The screws I was concerned about were cornered into the bag like that. See how they did an L-bar sealer, made that seal. If you guys don't know what an L-bar sealer is, it looks like an L. And then you close it down and it's got like a little bit of heat element and it closes and it makes like a compression. It almost feels like 2 tires touching together. And then that heat welds the plastic together. It's one of the many, many, many things that they sell at my day job, but I work on scales. That's packaging equipment. Okay. Okay, so this is a spinner. Looks like black on black, but somehow they managed to get that to match poorly. I don't really care, but it's a little bit unusual that that doesn't match. The 2 screws hold the spinner down. Looks like a nice enough spinner. Should be no problem. I usually don't make too big of a stink about it, but just want to point out the stuff that's obvious to us. Of course, it's a little bit subjective if that's going to matter to you, but the fact that there's a poor match in texture is not really a big factor. This is how we're going to steal power to run the LEDs, looks like. So that's going to split out from a channel on the radio that we're not using, maybe the bind channel, for instance. And then it looks like it comes with a Y cable. It looks like probably what happened is somebody decided, let's go ahead and add some straight cables for people that need extension cords. And then we'll give them both styles. Looks like wing joiner hardware, and then looks like an Allen key. Just put this right here. So thumb nuts, plastic, pretty standard, not anything wrong with that. Not right or wrong, just it is what it is. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bigger metallic screws, obviously not for the spinner. Those are super small. And then the hex drive. And then of course we've got a little bit of Velcro here, both sides of it, and then yet a little bit more, both sides of it. And then yet another, and the tail wheel. Very confused at this point, unless this is a float maybe assembly, and I need to keep these potentially separated. I don't understand why that is the way it is. This is clearly going to be some sort of a tail adapter. Oh, when this all gets built, this is going to be how we make the steerable tail wheel steer. But then why do they include this too? For push tires?
Spare?
I don't know. I'm weirded out by that. But then it looks like this hex drive will run the set screws for this assembly when and if we're ready to set those. Oh, and by the way, it's not tight. That's crazy. They weren't tight, hun. Oh, that's because this thing must be already built into that thing on the bottom, okay? So we've got that ready to rock and roll. I'll keep those together, and that is the entire unboxing. So quite a few pieces, not really a big problem, but there are a few pieces that we're gonna have to work through. I don't think it's gonna be anything too terribly fantastic in terms of build. I think it's gonna go together okie dokie. Now, let's talk about control surfaces and radio system. Because as you know here on Brian Phillips RC, I tend to use Spectrum. So we're gonna be using the NX8 Plus. If you guys have an older NX8 or an older NX10, you can update the firmware to 3.xxx or higher from anything that was 2.xxx, and you'll have a plus. So if you have like a 10 like this, that's a 10. That's now a 10 plus because I upgraded the firmware, okay? Same is true on an 8. You get 20 channels on that, or this if you go from the 10 to the 10 plus. Same thing with the NX7E. That goes from 7 channels up to 14. And the NX6, that's an NX8 back there, by the way, as well. You would go up to 14 channels as well. I don't think you're able to get this 6 right now anymore. Okay, stop selling that one. Okay, so hopefully this will get us started. I think I'm gonna take a minute, clean up, and come right back. All right, checkout box is cleaned up, planes stand out, receivers, batteries, everything is ready to start. Now that we got everything laid out, piece count's not crazy. 2200 3S, this is what we're gonna target for the battery type that we're gonna use. This is a Turnigy offering, so we will link to that. We'll also link to some Spectrum batteries, the stuff that we would use on a more ordinary basis. Of course, this being a Hobby King product, if you order it from Hobby King, you're gonna probably wanna use the Hobby King products, because then you can order the batteries and save a few bucks on shipping. Okay, so the quick start or quick setup guide talks about the different recommendations and looks pretty straightforward. They do have a QR code here. You can scan for an assembly manual if you want that, and I believe we open that up if we have problems. But as you can see, it's laid out, it's not too bad, okay? So the first things first, I'm nervous about the tail, so we're probably gonna start there. So we'll go ahead and bring up the manual and come right back. All right, so we printed out the full manual, which I do admittedly long for the days when a printed manual just came with it. As expected, they do want us to assemble the tail first, okay? So you're supposed to slide it together. and then get it at 90 degrees. They're wanting us to use foam glue, but there again, what foam glue is right for you, that's between you and your tax preparer, I guess. I'm using some China glue from FMS. Foam to foam also works good. So if you're buying receivers from Spectrum, you could get this while you're getting a receiver. We used to have an offering that we would recommend from Hobby King, but I haven't found one forever. Oh, and by the way, the wings, these things just slide in. So I'm gonna slide them in quick just for piece count reasons. These will go in and then magnetically attach. And how do you know which one's which? I don't know, just by guessing. I'm gonna use the other wing to pop out the JST connector. Once the JST connector is exposed, you can go like this, plug that in, and then my suggestion would be to slide this in just a wee bit, those carbon fiber rods, and then see if you can turn that sideways. We'll see if that thing fits. Yeah, it's gonna be tight. I need to have a little bit more room, please. Thank you. It's more awkward than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it would be super easy. Okay, there it is. So you see, I pushed it in and it just the wires wanting to push back out, okay? So I'm just concerned that's gonna wanna put a little bit of pressure on the wing as we're flying, wanting to pop it out. It seems to hold, but I would like to see a little bit more positive hold. I'm gonna do the stole wing. They call this the stole wing. They call this the sport wing. So we'll have some extra wing tips. If we lose them, then we can go to the other one, okay? So the reason I wanted to do this first is just because it's just kind of glaring at me every time I walk by, and I really want to get it done. Okay, so black goes to black. Pretty easy stuff. It doesn't look like it's going to be a real hard build. It's just more a matter of there is a little bit of gluing involved. So if you don't have glue, then you might be a little disappointed because you ain't putting it together. There's a wing. Looks pretty good, 1,250 millimeters wingspan. That is the whole wing. It's including the fuse in the middle there as well. Okay, so then the tail has to go together. This part, I'm not sure how this is gonna work. I think I'm gonna set up over here, and I wanna use a plane stand for this. This thing is slick, so it's gonna wanna slide all over the place. So this I pressed in. Be careful about the wire that goes out to this LED. Now, you've got a control down here. You might want to exercise this a few times while you've got it out. It'll help with the pinch hinge. And then this is going to slide in. Now, they don't say to glue this. They say to glue that. But I'm gluing it because, like, I don't really understand how we would not. I have a sneaky suspicion it's going to need to be glued. So China glue here. Okay, just one little strip. China glue here, one little strip. And then just a tiny little bit on the face there. Now, if you don't know anything about China glue, it's a contact cement. And so when you have a part that slides into another part, you can be plagued with difficulty getting proper penetration if you put the glue on first on the entire surface. And so this might get me in trouble here in a few minutes, but I'm gonna show you the way I wanna do it because this is a primary flight control surface and it's obviously critical to the performance of the aircraft. So I did another little slather there. And I'm just spreading that over this little area. See how it's spread out? Now, if you wait too long, this stuff can kind of set up a little bit and make it really hard to feed in. If it makes it hard to feed in, what you can do is you can actually put more of it on and it will generally let you through. Now, I'm looking for a spot I can lay this that will hold it up off of the ground so that it doesn't touch my table or counter or whatever, and that should be fine. So now over here, kind of the same thing. In a perfect world, you're gonna get glue on both surfaces. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it's not really necessary. There's gonna be people that are like, yeah, you need to score that paint. But let's get real, guys. It's not gonna matter on this model. It just isn't gonna matter. The first time that this breaks apart is gonna be after a crash. And I'm not super worried about it, okay? Now, if you wanna take an X-Acto knife and just like score up the paint a little bit, have at it. I don't think it's really necessary, but to all their own, okay? Now, same thing, I'm gonna go up on the top. I'm gonna center it as much as possible. And I'm just kind of going in small circles to spread that, and then a little bit up on the face. Now you can do a little bit here as well because it's gonna wrap on the front, but you're vulnerable to over gluing in that spot. But my suggestion is you do it even still. Okay, so just a little bit there. It's not gonna take hardly any glue to hold this in place. This China glue works really good actually, okay? Now, I'm not gonna let this cook off. Make sure that goes down, okay? So it should be on the other side from this rudder, so over here. And you're gonna have to slide that in relatively quick or you're gonna start having trouble getting that thing in. I don't know what that was, but was that from the plane?
No, it was the ice maker.
Oh, okay. So I'm holding the fuse and pressing that in and it's set. Okay, so it's all the way in. Now, the next thing I have to do is they said foam glue, they didn't say CA. So I'm gonna take them at their word. Those are CA hinges, full disclosure, but whatever. If you're using this glue, I want you to be able to use this glue. So let's put glue on there, let it fall down, slather it on both sides, slather it on both sides, and then this one I got the most glue on, so I'm gonna slather it on both sides, and then I'm gonna come back and share a little bit more of it with the other 3 hinges, okay? Now you could use a thin CA that would actually percolate in there and use capillary effect to pull it into that joint if you want. But the thing that's really nice about China glue is once you glue that, you could just like pull it apart if you pull hard enough, okay? And you're probably thinking to yourself, but that seems self-defeating. No, it's like a rubbery pull. So when you pull it out, it's gonna be like you have to keep pulling the whole time. And it's just gonna stretch until the point where it fails. But it's not gonna be like CA where you pull to the point where something rips out, okay? And that's why I like the China glue for this application. Now, come from the side here. See this? Just make sure your gapping is about the same. Make sure it can move, okay? You see how I opened up the gap just a hair when I did that? Now press it tight again. Now open it up. Just make sure you leave it there. Let it relax, okay? Now look at the tail. Everything looks square. I didn't do anything special. I didn't get out any measuring apparatus. I just looked down the length of it. It's fine, okay? Even if that thing was off by 1 degree, it ain't gonna make the plane fly bad, okay? Now, if it's off by 6 degrees or 7 degrees or some weird cant or is tipped, then it's gonna make the plane fly terrible. But this is molded into the plane, okay, guys? Let's make no mistake. You're not getting that straight. It's just straight because that's the nature of the shape of the plane. Now, they're suggesting going straight into putting these control rods in. I'm gonna skip to that later, okay? Why am I doing that later? Because well, for a variety of reasons, not the least of which I don't like following instructions. So I'm gonna flip this upside down and put on the landing gear. Just notice some damage on the bottom here. It's pretty minor, but there's some pitting here. Looks like something probably rubbed into it. I can't be 100% certain. I just noticed it today. We've had this open for about a day. We took a little bit of a break and came back to this model. Okay, so we could also assemble the tail wheel. There's this little weird set screw system here. So I'll use what they provided. Back that out, that grub screw. Back out this grub screw. And then this thing is going to go like that, I believe. This is gonna push into the front, and then this is gonna tighten in and allow you to adjust your tail wheel. Because your tail wheel is going to drag along at the same angle as your rudder, okay? This is not quite long enough to make the reach. So if I have any more problems with it, I'll just get a longer drive. It looks like about a 1.5 millimeter drive. That one's spinning, so that might not even be the right size anyway. So guys, I'm just gonna grab my more standard screwdriver kit and pull out a chair so we can get a better look at this. Here's a 2 millimeter drive. Let's see if that does it. No? That's too big. 1.5 millimeter? That seems to be about right. That's really tight. Goodness gracious. I'm gonna go back to the other one. Oh yeah, it's tight too. So I don't know what the deal is with that. That's kind of weird. Oh, this must be a thicker shaft, I wonder. Okay, well, whatever. It's in there. That's the part that matters. Again, 1.5 millimeter drive on that. So they did actually provide it. I wonder if that top one, guys, was biting onto this and then the bottom one is biting onto that. So you have like the input shaft and then the output shaft. Again, why is that not built? I'm not really sure. I couldn't quite figure that out. And since we had China glue out, why don't we go ahead and China glue this in? Because they don't say to glue this, they just say to put it in.
Oh, and there's no screws or anything?
No.
Okay.
Which, again, not a huge deal, but I do feel a little bit deceived by not having the instruction manual say that outright. Again, not a huge deal, but it's just a little off. Okay, see, if you need glue, you need to tell people to use glue, okay? If you have a pressure fit, congratulations, you have a pressure fit. I am not gonna glue this side. Whatever, I'll just glue it, who cares? I ain't gonna pivot that much. I thought maybe it'd pivot a little bit. See how that just sticks? And I just work around it like this. It just kind of pulls a little bit of glue off of this. Okay, and then in you go. So you see this? This will help hold that bottom hinge in. Okay. Now I'm not sure if you're supposed to be able to like take this thing apart. I mean, I can't imagine taking this model apart.
Not to that extent.
Hey, so look at this right here, right here. See this? Extra glue. You can let that dry and peel it out perfectly, or you can do it when it's a small amount like that. You can come in there with either the dry or the wet side and it will kind of bond to itself. Same thing here, you got glue there. Check this out. You can pull that off right now and make it look really nice, okay? Because that China glue will find the first thing it hangs onto and then you can just jank it out of there by spinning. Okay. Is it coming off there? It's kind of hard to tell. I think there's some imperfections in the chrome there. I just can't tell if it's the glue or if it's the imperfection in the chrome. Okay. Either way, it's good enough. All right, so not a hard assembly, like I said, just a little bit unusual that they wouldn't specifically call out the glue. Okay, so we have another set screw here. This one, this time is Phillips. Can you go to the other side there, please? So I'm gonna grab a Phillips. I'll drag these over. Since we had that little delay, we can actually go ahead and finish the tail surfaces because now the glue is set up. You can tell right here, oops, sorry. Here's a little bit right there. See this? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna roll this up and away from the black paint. Why? Because that will eventually pull the black paint off if I wait and try to do that after too long. So just be careful. If you can get it out while it's wet, it might be better on a black on black paint. See, it even peeled that little bit off. You see? Right there. That's what I was trying to avoid. Dang. Okay, well, whatever. That's a bit of a bummer. I'm gonna show you how I'll fix it. You can stay right there. If you guys got a big old fat black marker, the fatter the black marker, the more ink is gonna put out at the same time. So if you have a thin Sharpie, it's not gonna work as good as a thick Sharpie. So this big old chisel tip, and I'm just gonna touch up that little black spot, and you'll never know except that I filmed doing it, okay? So makes sense. If you do a smaller Sharpie, you're gonna tend to get more bleed through because there'll be less ink applied quickly. All right, so they're talking about getting that in. Yeah, they just say to install it. Like install the tail wheel assembly. Like, do you mean glue it? Now they are suggesting the mains, which is what I was about to do. Oh, except we need to put in these rods. Okay, so these rods, like I don't understand why this came in the kit.
I wonder if that was a mistake.
I think it was a mistake. Because like, I don't know where we would use it. So I'm gonna put that over here with the extras. These I know are for the wing. These are actually for setting the cant of the motor. If you wanna change the thrust angle, you can actually take those off and mount those under the bolts that mount the motor so that it brings the thrust angle down. If I have to do that and it needs to do that, I don't understand why it's not done at the factory. All right, so getting back to the point, on the drawings, there's this, and sorry about the shadow, there's this wiggly one, and there's this straight one, and then there's 3 more straight ones, okay? So the wiggly one is supposed to go here, and the straight one's supposed to go here. But I don't remember which one's which for the holes, so we're gonna look back at the manual. The manual does show this, so I'll show you in the manual. Kinda, it's hard to see, it's on the outside hole, and then you just set the set screw. I can't tell what that is.
I can't either.
Let's pause and see. All right, guys, so we believe that's the outside hole, according to that drawing. Now, you could put it in whatever hole you want, but I think I'm gonna just go with it's the outside hole according to the drawings. So, the weird thing is, they're showing this wiggly one over here, okay? So it's got a bit of a cant down, and then it goes over to this in the outside hole. So you just turn that in, then you have to spin this to get it in alignment so that the hole lines up. And then you're gonna have to take a Phillips, relatively small Phillips, something like this maybe. Probably a Phillips 0.5 or something, or 0.75, maybe a Phillips 1. This one is a 3 millimeter. Okay, so that's in, and then we can just square this up. I mean, we don't know what the servo position is right now, but I would assume it's pretty close to center. So show them over here. See, you can slide that, and then whenever you get it centered, then you'll be mostly mechanically centered, and then you have a little bit of trim to work out. So then I want to show you a trick of the day. Come around here. I'm going to hold this, nope, where you were, right over the top. I'm going to hold this, and while I hold it, that's going to stop it spinning while I attempt to torque this down. If you don't torque that enough, your elevator will slip. If in any doubt, you can't get that tight enough, give this a bend and give this a bend, and it will lock it into a position so you don't have a huge mechanical change while in flight. Okay, you would be doing that probably with needle nose pliers, okay? So now we'll take the straight one, which is the one opposite, and this one's a little bit more tricky. So I'm gonna come over here, slide this Z-bend into the wiggly control horn, flip it up like this, spin it around, and then same thing. I have to spin this so that it's lengthwise, and then I'm gonna have to take my screwdriver, the same 3 millimeter screwdriver we just worked with. I'm gonna go like this, then I'm gonna loosen this. I have to put my finger in here to support it. Okay, then I can take the rudder and just slide it in, make sure that it protrudes out, and then look what I'm doing. I'm gonna center this roughly, provided that servo is mechanically centered or at least close to centered. And it's close enough for what we're doing, okay? Then we're gonna do the exact same thing we did, except they'll use non-bent tip forceps. Oh, I got glue in there, whoops. So I've got that bit. I'm actually gonna go up to one size bigger Phillips, like a number 1.25, maybe a 1.5 if that. That seemed to drive a little bit better. So this here is listed as a 4 millimeter Phillips. Holding this tight, torquing that, very good. All right, so our next move is to get the landing gear on. Now we talked about this a little bit when we first started unboxing, so it's been a few hours since we've talked about it, since the next day. But you've got this that slides in and these that clip on here. Clip, 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 clip. And I am not sure how this is gonna work out, but we'll find out right now. So in and in, and then, ooh man, that does not feel great. Oh, they snap here, do they? Nope, they just go next to it, like that. How do I force that in there? That is not feeling great. Oh my gosh. Whoa. Yeah, I don't like that at all. I'm gonna get needle nose pliers to help with this step. I'm concerned I'm gonna break the plastic parts. They seem pretty resilient, but I don't wanna break them before I even fly it. I'm gonna get these things down so that they're ready to clip. I'm actually gonna clip them. Yeah, you can clip them right now, actually. No, you can't clip both sides. Then I'm gonna take and reach under here with a needle nose and just pull this down in. Oh yeah, there we go. Now that we're kind of in, I'm gonna reposition up here. There it goes. Man, that is one goofy design. I'm not sure I'm a fan. Okay, same thing here. I'm gonna grab here. I mean, as with anything else, the first time you put it together, it's usually a little bit like harder to force everything to clip together, but if it doesn't clip together well at the beginning, eesh. Ooh, it does clip, okay. That's a loud snap. I don't want to do this with this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It clipped, good. It clipped, okay. I can live with that.
Okay.
Then, oh yeah, that's pretty sweet actually. What is the noise? Oh, is this slipping in and out? There must be a retention clip under here, under the hubcap. That's what keeps that there. If they spin square and they splay properly, I'm gonna be happy with that. I don't think they will.
It's kind of a weird install.
I think they're gonna pop off about every time you land based on that experience. Okay, so let's put the prop on now. All right, this comes off. Man, that feels really, really light duty. Again, I hope I'm just a lot of pomp and circumstance here. I hope this is not a problem. Washer, nut. That nut is very small. Then the prop. This will go on the outside. This will go underneath. So this will go first. Okay. Got a little bit of texture transferred. And then I think they're wanting us to use this. Oops. Already ripped it open on the other end. I was just using that to hold my China glue stick. Actually, I can lay that over here now because I think we're done with China glue.
Hopefully.
So one of these is going to fit on the shaft. That fits. That doesn't, and too loose. So this one's right. You put it on, let it bounce on the floor. That's pretty customary for filming. Okay, so we'll put the extras over here to be kept forever. And now I'm gonna put that back on, slide that back. That's gonna support the back half. If you want, you can glue it, you don't have to. And then this is gonna go either this way or this way. And it just depends. You don't ever know until you know. So it looks like I got it wrong. It's gotta be this way. Okay. Nope. What the heck? It's gonna go like that. I think. Yeah, that's right. Okay, now plane stand is not doing me any favors right now. Trying to hit me in the family jewels. So I'm gonna switch it around. That's a lot better. And you can see why I had to do that. Because now that I slide this on, and now that I slide this on, we could just kind of hold the prop, spin it most of the way so it's fingerish tight. And then this will go until it hits the wing root of the prop, or the prop root. I'm pretty sure it's still the wing root, or the blade root. I'm gonna use a crescent wrench on this. It's just a sizable wrench. My crescent wrench is still at the store. I actually I have a few crescent wrenches. I have a big crescent wrench. It's like 24 inches long. Because Crescent was the only one that made that one in that size.
A little much for this.
Yeah, I mean, it would work. That's one of the things that's nice about Crescent wrenches is other than having to get metric and standard, I have metric here and sorry, it's the oldest joke in the book. But since you asked, See how it walked away from there? This gap. See how there's a gap? I love it when cameras focus. See how there's a gap? That gap is what's going to prevent this from lining up, I believe. But it's so dang close. And so there is a trick, and that is while this is still on, I'm going to hold this and then I'm going to bring these two together. So I'm holding the prop. I'm just going to try to spin this together. And that may not work. You see how it's wanting to break it? So then I have to actually loosen this again until I can get this thing to spin like that. Then I can try to tighten this again. Full disclosure, these things can be sharp and they will occasionally cut you if you're not careful, okay? So I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna go longward with it and try to pull this back toward me. Yep, oh yeah, that's about as good as I can get it. Then, this will hopefully slide on. Yeah, it's not wanting to slide on very good. So I'm gonna have to find that 3mm Phillips screwdriver again. Put that on the tip whilst holding it. I'm gonna put this upside down, feed that through so that we know we have proper penetration. I'm gonna pre-screw this so that it eats the little teeny bit of the base out, okay? Now that it's eaten that base out, I can go line this up, because otherwise you need like 7 hands to do this and you're just not gonna do it. Hey, pulled it in nicely. That wasn't too bad at all. Then I'm gonna take this other microscopic screw, I'm gonna lay it on the end, and then I'm gonna take my index finger, and I'm gonna hold it like this, and I'm gonna cram it in, okay? I'm gonna write it in, get the tip to find the hole. If you can't find the hole, spin it very gently, back off your pressure, and let it drop down into the hole. If you can't find it, here's another trick. I know it sounds redonkulous, but you can take your whole plane, you can pick it up, and then you can find the hole this way while you've got it balanced on the tip, okay? Then once you get the tip started, you can lay it back down, okay? So now your screw is started. And you see what happened? I found the hole here, but not the hole there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do just like I did on the other side. I'm gonna idle it. I'm gonna just let it spin without biting. That's gonna eat the little bit of this hole out. And then I'm gonna come back over here and I'm gonna loosen this to about 50% out. 2, 3, 4 turns. Pull this out some. And then that might give me the ability, yep, I think I felt it line up. Then I can bring this back in. See how I'm holding this too? I'm holding the leading edge and the trailing edge and as much contact area as possible. I'm actually gonna switch to a bigger screwdriver now. I'm gonna go up to that 4mm. Oh yeah, that's a good fit. Flip. See, now we can close that little gap at the base of the spinner. Now, the reason I show you those details is because those are the types of details that they'll breeze over in every other instructional video that you find online. They're just gonna make it seem like if you have problems, you're an idiot. No, they're just kind of a pain in the butt. And if you haven't figured that out yet, you haven't done thousands of these yet. Well, when you're done with your thousands, you get back to me and fill out the survey. The survey says, yep, it was a pain in the butt. Some of them go together really good and some of them go together really bad. That one was probably on the 75 percentile. And then the dynamis are over in the 0 percentile.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like the German ones are like in the 100 percentile because they're always perfect. Yeah, my statement stands where the landing gear just looked cartoonish. Okay, pause it. All right, so it's kind of killing me because my appreciation for this aircraft, I would consider to be relatively high. And so I was saying earlier that I thought this was attached further up forward, but then I was like, okay, well, thanks to whoever's YouTube video that says, I'm using a still. I hope you don't get mad. We'll link to whatever it is. This is where the cowl ends, and then there is a noticeable gap here before the wheel pants begin. Okay, well, wheel fairing, not wheel pants. But as you can see, that is a pretty good match, actually. So, and I found about, I don't know, 10, 15 pictures. I didn't even know that the Kitfox has a tricycle set that you can buy. Of course, Kitfox offers a bunch of different stuff, but maybe they did get the landing gear about right, because that sure looks like about the right, which by the way, that is a pretty sweet livery.
Yeah.
So, okay, now that you've seen that I was wrong, I'm gonna get you 2 more examples and that'll be it. Okay, so the camera crew and I had a couple other examples. Camera crew, move to the right, thank you. This, see the gapping? Then the wheel fairing would be about here. You can see where the door is, kind of the frame goes up there. There's this little exhaust vent. And so this is the YouTube video we're watching. And then this, of course, is the Kitfox stuff. And so you can see they got a tricycle set up. And this also kind of shows, I'm trying to zoom in for you. Whoops. Trying to zoom in for you. There it is. You can see it hits mid-door. So they actually did get it true to form. And to be honest with you guys, that's a big deal to me. Okay, we're gonna come back. All right, so every once in a while, I find information that helps to support my truth claims, and other times I realize I was just wrong. So I think in this case, I was just wrong. So I'll take it. Now, the landing gear are probably a little bit bigger. I think the wheel fairings are a little bit taller on this model than they would be in real life, but that's probably a function of how big they got the prop, okay? So there is a Y cable that's used to pull power off to go to the wings and what is the tail light there. And so it's just got a servo end and you can just steal power from, in our case, we're gonna use a bind plug because we've got 12 volts, or not 12 volts, we've got BEC voltage compared to ground. We'll be able to steal that, no problem. And then it looks like they're just showing everything mounted under the wing for the radio system. And then the battery's just plopped in. Okay, so yeah, so we should be okay to just plop this in. My issue is like, can we reach so that we don't have to fight this for radio setup with the radio under the wing? Because we really can't finish this assembly yet, can we?
Maybe not.
Why'd you go back there? Yeah, because this is gonna, we have to plug that in. So we're gonna have to put the receiver on here and then drop this down in. Let's just build it real quick and see how it feels. That was maybe not so great. Kind of squished in there. Okay. It's not too bad. Okay, so this comes off. By the way, I'm gonna attach tape to this right now because I don't wanna fight that. I'm gonna attach tape to it over there. I got some scissors. I got some regular clear tape, nothing special or fantastic. When that's on there, I don't wanna fight to get it off, so I'm just gonna take a long piece of tape like this, nothing special. And I'm gonna literally stick this on here and let it stick on. This is gonna help me lift this every time I need to get in and out of here. I don't wanna have to fight it, okay? So you'll notice I made it really long. That's because you need a little bit of bite to help make this work most of the time, okay? So I want it to kind of lay somewhat flat on the fuse. And so now that I've got that clamped down, I can just slide this until it's tight. And then what we do is we drop that back in and then we can pull this out. Now, if that buzzes from all the throttle, then we can deal with it. So these washers that I was referring to earlier are designed as spacers to change the thrust angle if it becomes problematic for you. So you'd have to take out these screws and then do 1, 2, potentially 3, 4 up on the top if you want to change it down. But usually it's down and to the right. So really kind of not sure what's going on, but there is a little bit of a thrust angle correction right there, it looks like, down and to the right. So if we need to mess with it, we've got the parts. They did provide them. That's always good, but I don't know if it's going to work, okay? So now the other thing too is we have to potentially do some work with the wings because why do we have all these extra rods? Why are there extras? There's 3 extras.
I think they weren't going to attach them, and then they ended up
attaching them?
doing it. Yeah.
Okay. So real quick, when you're ready to put your wing together, this is going to go in. Oh my gosh, they're so long. See how long that is? Oh, good. I was going to say, there ain't no way I've got to actually run that all the way. So once you do that, then you're going to do the other side. I am just curious if we can get a hand in there and get all the cables forward. I doubt it though. Okay, so you're going to do both sides just like that. But really, for the sake of the build, I want to see this thing splay the landing gear a little bit. Okay, so over here. So I was hopeful that that would stay at a particular angle, but it doesn't. It just goes out like that. I don't know. I mean, they move. I don't know if it's a desirable movement, but they will splay out. I think it's going to be a little on the soft side, actually, like a little too soft. We'll see if it's a problem, though. This is a relatively light plane, so I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I just think it's going to tend to be splayed out all the time, which doesn't look very good. In which case, maybe I'll bend the axles so that it's actually got the wheels square at neutral. You have to kind of force that in, by the way, guys. Okay, so here's another annoying thing I just noticed. Once you're done putting that in, then you have to, let's lay this on its back. Something I'm not a big fan of doing with airplanes. These have to be mounted. Which way do they go? That is not labeled left or right at all. Can you tell?
I don't see anything.
They're not exactly the same, are they?
I don't think so. That looks more correct than when you had it on the other side.
Okay. Well, they gave us 6 screws, so I think it's pretty obvious where those 6 screws go now. My issue is every time we work on this, we're gonna have to have that on and then back off. And this is heavy. Go through all the work of making this plane light, and then you put those really heavy parts on there. Not sure what I think on that yet.
I mean, we're going to have to get in there almost certainly.
No, I'm 100% sure we have to get in there. It's not even a doubt in my mind. But what is a doubt in my mind is, can we put the 2 in the wing? You know what I mean? Can we put these in?
Oh, and still get it off?
And still get it off, yeah. Because then what we'll do is we'll only have 1 screw to deal with. But it's like you have a toolless mount, but then you have a screw you have to put in.
Well, and you didn't have screws in the landing gear or anything else.
But you had to glue the tail on. So it's like a multimodal build. I mean, again, not really a big deal. It's not a problem. It's just almost kind of like, did you guys forget about the rest of it? It's like there were 3 crews building this plane, and the design engineers were like all in different continents or something, which is totally something that Hobby King would do. And then they were like not talking to each other at all. That's probably what happened too. Or they got to the point where they were like, you know, we should try to make this glueless. And then they ran into a circumstance where they're like, we really can't fit the fasteners in. We don't have enough thickness to support the metal or plastic or whatever. The adjoining apparatus. This is, by the way, a 6mm Phillips. So that'd be like a Phillips number 2, probably, I'm guessing. And these screws are really high quality, very easy to put in. I do like that. Generally, when we have Phillips screws on models like this, you're just kind of like, why did you use the Phillips? Why didn't you use the hex drive? But these Phillips are actually pretty good. So I got no problems with those. I need to move this. It's driving me crazy. It keeps walking away from me. So folks, this build is I don't know. I feel like sometimes with Hobby King, we run into these builds and you're sort of not surprised that it's a pain in the butt. This one wasn't really like hard. It's just more like, is that going to be the right move? It seems to be kind of the common core. This is ready to go.
Okay.
Now, in order to finish the build, we have to take it back apart, which is annoying, but also practical experience in many builds. okay? First of all, does it look awesome? Yeah, it does. It looks really nice. Is it gonna fly awesome? I really hope so. I hope so. I've never had a Kitfox. We've never had a Kitfox. There was a Kitfox that came out, I think it was a flight test offering a while back. We didn't work with flight test, and so we didn't do that. So, but I wonder if people were maybe not like super impressed with it. I remember hearing some things like it didn't fly that great or something. Again, I don't know. I never flew one. So let's take off the lid. Let's see if we can reach. Yeah, there is no way. No way in hell. Oh, look, here's some Velcro. Well, maybe we could put the receiver there. Or is that where you would put the battery? I don't remember putting that there myself.
No.
Because they gave us these. I'm a little bit... Oh, that's where the ESC was supposed to go. That's where the ESC was supposed to go. I bet that's what's going on there. Because, yeah, it must have fallen off in shipping. So I'll stick that down again. Yeah, that's totally what it was. Yeah, and then the battery just goes next to it, I guess. And then the weight of the two kind of like work together to balance the plane out. Okay, so I'm going to bend these leads. These are silicone dipped multi-conductor. These are more of like the motor winding leads, so they hold their shape. So if you're ever fighting, you want to fight, and then they're tinned, so sometimes they don't like to bend right out of the connector. So make sure you support it so you don't break your solder joints inside. Okay. And you can see kind of what I'm talking about. Then you can tuck that down in there and it'll hold it for you in the motor mount. I just hope I don't have issues with needing that for mounting the battery. Because like, frankly, I'm assuming the battery's gonna have to go somewhere. Oh shoot, we never did charge batteries. Let's talk about charging these batteries. 2200 3S packs, okay? Frankly, we don't fly a lot of planes on 3S anymore. Everything seems to be moved up to 4S. So turning on the Spectrum S2200, these are equipped with XT60s. Of course, you can't cram an XT60 into an IC3, but you can cram an IC3 into an XT60 on a plane. So I'll use my adapter. It takes me back to EC3. EC3, IC3 have the same external dimension. There's just no data pin on an EC3 versus an IC3. Then run your balance lead into this. That little arrow indicates negative. Okay, so the most negative lead plug. Okay. And then you'll come up here, you can see on the screen, it shows the voltage of each cell. I don't want to charge at 5, that's probably a little bit fast. 5 amps, these are 22 milliamp hours. So that'd be 2.2 amps would be 1C, okay? So we're gonna start that one, let that top off. And then we'll just use this one for the rest of the radio setup. Now we'll charge it, because it's only just gonna need to topped off. So we'll go ahead and get that set and come back. Okay, so I got this also from another off-brand battery, one that we don't use very often. And they're really nice because they're super small and concise when I'm using this charger. So plug that in. Ooh. This is gonna go back to, whoops, 2.2 and then start. I could have done it at 3.2, it would have been fine. But with a smart charger, because the smart circuit that doesn't exist in these batteries, that looks a little something like this, this would be the battery management circuit. So all you have to do is basically plug it in, and then if it's a Gen 1, there's a balance lead you can use or you can omit. You just have to add, there's a step you acknowledge you're not plugging it in if you're not gonna plug it in. But that battery management circuit will do the balancing for you. Oh, and earlier I was saying you can cram an IC3 into an XT60. Here's an example of an XT60 that would be on the airplane. You can cram an IC3 into an XT60 all day long. 99% of the time you can get these in. There are some XT60s that we've noticed in these newest planes. We had a cabin we did the other day, a Pulse 2.2, and it had a really, really thick XT60 connector. And I was just like, I don't want to break the connector. It was bending the pins in too much and it made me nervous. Okay, so just perusing the manual, they're talking about high-low settings. I've never done that. Never, not even once. Like zero times.
Not even once, ever?
Never measured throws. Not even one time, ever. We've done hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of models. Never once measured throws. I made sure they're going in the right direction. I've made a lot of mistakes. They do have a pre-flight checklist for those of you that want to run through that, which is kind of handy. Center of gravity with a 2200 milliamp hour 3S, they want it between 160 to 185 grams. Now, they do recommend 1800 to 2200 milliamp hours, but this is where they're saying the CG should be easily achieved. Where?
32.
Oh, that's the weight.
32
I'm sorry,
millimeters.
guys. Where was that?
Right up here. 32 millimeters.
That's about 32 millimeters from the leading edge. Let's mark that while we've got it sort of halfway built. 32 millimeters is way up there at the front. That is...
Well, it's very specific. It's not a range.
I know. You look like Elvira right now. The sun is coming right on your eyes.
Yeah, I can tell.
Okay, so we never changed the battery in these, so I'm gonna just quickly do this to 32. You said 32, right?
Yes.
So 32 millimeters, and then I'll just tighten that. Flip this over. It's not totally assembled. Guys, that is way at the leading edge. That is a weird spot.
Yeah, it is.
That does not seem right to me. All right. Okay. That does not seem right to me. I guess we're gonna find out. I mean, this is why you watch Brian Phillips RC, is because the whole way through, I'll challenge the build and then I'm gonna get it out there and it's like, it flies like perfect.
Okay, but here's the other thing is like you have two different wing lengths. Like, would that not matter? Is that gonna change the CG?
You should edit that out.
What?
That's got to do with the width of the plane. What is the width of the plane? This is a square wing. Okay, so think of it like this. If this was 7 miles long, it wouldn't change the center of gravity in this regard. That would change the center of mass.
That's true, because the weight distribution wouldn't be different.
Well, I mean, you're not gonna put like a short one here and a long one there, but even if you did, it would just change the lift. It would just roll the plane.
Roll it.
So it might induce a little bit of an adverse yaw, but I don't think it's gonna matter. So we'll edit that one
Okay.
out. The reason that I was talking about batteries is because where they were gonna fit in there.
Yeah.
So just for grins and giggles, let's do a 30C 2200 smart pack, which is what I would be more used to using. And that's a little bit more consistent with the length of batteries that we've used in past, okay? Just be careful, you've got a prop shaft that's gonna be just floating right there, okay? Don't get your leads into that, guys. That could be a problem. And I am hitting the bottom of an XT, looks like just a connector that just happens to be floating there. Don't let that happen either, guys. So yeah, it really, pet peeve of mine, don't give us a place to put the battery. That's a pet peeve. I want a place to put the battery.
There's no battery straps.
They give you Velcro.
Yeah, but you don't use Velcro.
We'll be fine. I mean, I'll survive this build, maybe. But I just want to point out that those are things that I'm not real keen on. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, so now we're going to take this wing back off. Again, it's not make or break stuff here, guys. You can still have a nice model that deviates from some of Brian Phillips RC's favorite things, okay? It doesn't have to be exactly the way I would do it to be right, but it should be. I just noticed my tail wheel wasn't square, so I'm just gonna move it. I didn't even loosen the set screw, I just moved it. See, and just the fact that I could do that without even undoing the set screw just tells me that those grub screws aren't gonna do enough. This is gonna be closer to the project plane status that we remember from yesteryear. I just about guarantee you, okay? Taking these two out, I'm gonna lay them over here by the screws, okay? So now, the rest of this build is gonna consist of mostly radio setup, okay? So radio setup is gonna require us to have a radio picked, okay? The radio system we're using is a Spectrum NX8 Plus. We were debating between an AR631 Plus, an AR630 Plus. This one's like $5 less because it didn't have the antenna. But you could do top pins or end pins. It doesn't really matter. I think in this case, I'm gonna go with the AR631 Plus because just frankly, because we have a few more of those available, okay? 637T would give you telemetry off of a non-smart pack. So it might be kind of handy, but again, that's a lot of money for this particular plane. I doubt that the average consumer that's buying this particular plane is gonna spring for an AR637T because the features that you get in it are probably over the top for what you need here. You don't need the Vario. So the barometric pressure is not gonna be necessary for most people that are using this plane. And this is gonna give you AS3X and safe, which is what most people are after, safe, or AS3X, or AS3X Plus in this case. One of these is done. Looks like cell one is done. So I'll just pop this one off, or port one rather. So it's ready to go, so we can use that one for testing. Oh, I need to open the 631. So the 630, as I mentioned, has end pins, so it goes that way. And these have top pins, so it goes towards you. So why that might matter is because of this wing, okay? Now that I took out those side bolt thingies, can this come out? And the answer is probably, but I don't want to damage the side. Can you help me? Can you help me?
We can hold it.
That's all I needed.
Okay.
So when that comes out, this is the way this always works on wings like this. Because then, all right, so we've got this short, dinky little cable. They give us a little tiny Y cable, which will reach us a ways out. But then we have to plug this together for power. Okay, so let's just plug this in, black to black, red to red. This is not so much radio setup as it is like build, okay? So you're gonna be limited on length by at least this, right? Let's say at least this. Maybe that's not so bad. That I can tolerate, okay? Black and black, red on red. So now we're powering both of the wingtip lights and the light that's going to the back. Then we've got this, which is gonna come out the top. That's the elevator and rudder. Which one's which? Only God knows, okay? Who cares? Not that big a deal to leave those unlabeled. So my goal is, do I need an end pin to make this work? No, I think the end pin might work to our disadvantage. I think the top pin's gonna work better in this case. So I'll just lay this aside for now. Now, just so you know, the 637T has end pins as well. It's like if you have a crash plane, I could see somebody stealing one out of a crash plane.
Right, that would make sense.
And they did make it a lot easier to factory reset these and get back to a virgin state in like the last 7 or 8 firmware levels. So even if you have a bind and fly plane, just keep in mind a 637TA is not gonna have the barometer function. But as discussed, like we don't really care about that. But you will have, on the TA, you will have the lead for the battery, I believe. Or do you?
No, you don't, because that would be paired with an Avian to get telemetry, right?
No, the Avian comes through serial data. No, I'm talking about the micro PH 1S connector.
Right.
Not just on the 8 channel, on the 637, okay? So here's the receiver. Now this can be mounted in any orientation that we want. I'm not gonna be using the Y cable. So really, to be honest, by the time we add these little extension cables in here, we might be okay. But we won't need those. Because look, we're just gonna plug those in here. And then when we're all said and done, this is gonna get glued in. I might even need to take out a little bit of foam or possibly glued in. Nah, I can't do that because it'll block us for plugs. It's a little tempting. I might have to take out a little bit of this just to mount it, you know? Or I could just glue it to the surface. Like, who cares? That's fine. I'll just glue it there where I get 3 sides. And this is gonna lock in up front. So as long as everything in reach, who cares? That should be no problem. And we talked about bind plug for power. So let's see if we have any problems there. How do we know polarity, by the way? This says signal plus and minus. So it's silk screened in on the end. So bind can go here with a plus in the middle, and then nothing on the signal because this is just lights, okay? We only have to deal with 1 and 10 on this type of setup. Oh crap, throttle. How is that gonna work? Oh, it was just caught. This is gonna be, this will be a little bit tricky because we're gonna have to try to reach all this up. I've got these 3 cables at my disposal. This is where it starts getting to be a pain in the balls, is because you just can't reach everything very good, okay? But like I said, I'm not probably gonna take this plane apart because it's not big enough to justify being a big deal. If you know for sure you're gonna take this apart, you might wanna add a couple of extension cords here so that they're all as long as this LED length. The other thing is you technically have 3 extension cords. You have 1 from the elevator, okay? Let's just see how this works to show you. There's 1 from the elevator. Again, one more thing that can come undone, so I wouldn't do this unless you have to. 1 from the rudder, presumably, I don't know which one's which. And that easily gets you back, okay? And then you know those will reach. And then you've got 1 from the throttle. Again, don't use the extension cord if you don't need to. Ooh, that's not plugging in worth a crap. Look what happened. See the pins?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
I'm not gonna use.
I mean,
They're bent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you gotta get in there with an X-Acto knife and straighten them. This one's good. So this will be black to black. So I just line them up. Ooh, man, that's terrible. Why is it so terrible? I got it that time. Okay. So this would reach you back with your throttle. You just got to be careful not to use this other cable. So you'd probably tape over it or something. You know, just make sure you know not to use it. Then this one's going to be for reverse thrust, I believe. Okay. So in our case, I need to be able to bring it up here so I can reach all the cables. I don't want to extend every one of these dang cables. That's going to be a pain in the balls.
Yeah.
So we're up a Y cable.
Good.
And we're up 2 extension cords.
Yes.
On this project. And you guys could be too if you do it the way we did it, okay? By the way, these cables are really, really, really cheap. So let's just guess right now and then we'll check because we have to do that anyway. So throttle's gonna be on port 1. So what do you think, elevator or rudder on 2?
No, it'll be right. Aileron will be 2. Elevator will be 3, rudder 4.
So we're going to the 3rd set of, it's actually the 4th set of pins, but port 3. Then we're going to disconnect this other extension cord, cable management 101. Then that'll be 4.
Yes.
So 4, make sure the orange goes up. That's signal for you. So signal, and then brown is ground, and then power's in the middle no matter what you do. Okay. And then over here we've got throttle. That's going to go to port 1. So we just got to make sure that that goes up to the top. White goes to the top. Black goes to the bottom. And let's just assume that 6 is going to be thrust reverse. 5?
Yeah, because you're going to flap around. 6 will be left aileron.
Okay. So you guys see what I'm doing? Just going only to the signal line. So you just plug it into that top one. Okay. And then there is no other plugs except for on the wings. Oh, well, unless we need to extend these to get back. Which, I mean, to be honest, I think what's going to happen is we're not going to be able to do all this at once. Right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You're saying just temporarily extend them to get everything
Yeah,
set up?
to get everything set up, and then we get ready to plop this on. So this one's just going to be on channel 2, and then this one's going to be on channel 3. Now they're going to say, this one's going to be on channel 6, okay? So one of these is going to go here, one of these is going to go there. But you guys see why I'm doing that, because I can't quite reach to get to that. I wonder if I could do the plane stand next to it. We've had to do this before. The Y cable would give us more reach for one of them. The other thing is we could lay the plane on its side. I don't think that gains us anything though. Lift up the tail for me. I want to go under. Okay, let it down. Set it down like that. Oh, booyah. Look at that.
Oh, okay.
That's the way. Okay, that'll work. So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we try to provide solutions to problems and not just bitch about them. We bitch about them and then we provide solutions. How about that?
Right.
Black is toward my belly. Brown is toward my belly. I don't even know which one this is. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out shortly. And then this one here is black is toward my belly. Brown is toward my belly. Ooh, got to be careful. It was kind of doing like that Y cable. Okay, so now everything is landed. Now when we're really, really ready to put this down, we're gonna have to eventually glue this on something, okay? So we might actually even take and disconnect all the stuff once we figure it out. And you know, from the plane side, then we'll put this back down here and maybe we can set it there. Nah, it's too big. It'll here or here. Probably there's where it's gonna go. I mean, if I know that's where it's gonna go, do you want me to just glue the dang thing in and be done with it?
I mean, you can. It just seems really messy right now, so.
It is messy and it's gonna be messy because it's annoying. Okay, this is the double-edged sword. It's annoying because the cables will short. And it's gonna be, now flip the sword. It's gonna be annoying because it's hard to build, but it's gonna be great because you don't have a bunch of cable to manage them later.
Right.
Okay, so China glue to the rescue.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I mean, we'll rip it off if it's wrong.
All right. You know what else too? Look, those two extension cords, like I was saying for the elevator and rudder, that would at least get the ESC line. See, you could do them, any of these orientations would do it, okay? So again, I don't know which one's which here either. Let's try this instead. Extension cord, brown, black down. I'm just swapping the extension cords onto my elevator and rudder, which is gonna allow me to reach then, okay, for setup, okay? Okay, so then this one will be on port 3. Then I might be able to put this up here. Ooh, it's so close, so dang close. Maybe if I tip it, I can get it. Yeah, that'll work.
I come.
You can go wherever you want to go. Just, I can't move the plane anywhere else. Okay. So now we'll use the shorties. And yes, you could add extension cords here at this point if you were annoyed. And if you're screaming at the TV saying, Brian, just use an extension cord for God's sakes. I get what you're saying, but you got to realize not everybody has extension cords. And just because I have 4,000 of everything doesn't mean everybody else does. Okay. So that's plugged in. And now, are we going to be able to glue it? Yes, we are. Yes, we are, guys. That we can glue.
Okay.
Okay.
I like that better.
That solution is satisfactory. It's okay. It's not great. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. Now I can glue that. Okay, so in order to glue it, I'm going to have to unplug this cable, the one for that aileron, which that aileron can be that aileron. We can reassign them however we want. But I just need them out of the way. See how I had to twist in the cable? It's already giving my OCD like a workout. Oh my goodness gracious. I want it to not be obnoxious. Okay, so I did a little cross on there. I do a little cross on here. And I'm just gonna leave it like that. Now, while that sets up, because it literally just needs to set up. Once it's set up, we'll stick the two together. They'll stick. They'll not be a problem again, okay? Now, the first time that we set the wing on, it's gonna be a pain in the butt.
Yes.
Because I gotta move these stupid things out of the way and I gotta deal with all those cables. So as a result, we gotta be a little bit careful, okay? Oh, and we also have a prop to contend with now. So, don't let me get so far ahead that I forget to glue that, hun.
Okay.
Press the power button. Throttle sticks down. Rotary knob is centered. F is in the middle. Throttle cuts on toward my belly. That would be off. That's on. Forward thrust is push to forward thrust. This will be reverse thrust. This will be reverse thrust, and that'll be forward thrust. This will be gear that don't do anything. This will be flaps. This will be mode AS3X, off, and safe. Okay? If we have anything weird, we'll do it here. Remember, these are flaperons. Okay? So we're gonna have flaps up here. Cancel them back. Add a new model. Create. Now we wait for it to wake up. Model select is already done. Model type, see, we've already did that. Now we just got to type it in. So this is going to be the H-King Kitfox. All right, so H-King Kitfox 1.25/1.1. This is two different size classes, so I have to do both. Okay, we're gonna hit back. We're just gonna leave it chill here for a minute and set down this receiver in the glue. Okay, so this glue should pretty much take it like immediately and stick down. So I gotta kind of get it square and correct the first time if possible, okay? I don't think we waited too long. I don't think we rushed it too much either. I think that was about right. Okay, and then I'll just reconfirm that that hasn't, you know, pivoted a bunch here shortly. And while it's now stuck down, I can go ahead and re-land this cable. Brown is down toward my belly, okay? So if you guys don't know why I say brown is down toward my belly or black is down, it's because I know that negative is on the bottom of this receiver in this case due to the silk screening or based on what the silk screen says. So it just helps me remember what orientation. Then later, we're ready to actually finally put this in. I'm gonna try to land this without the extension cords. But I mean, frankly, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get away with it. I may have to have them in there just to make this happen, okay? Okay. So while we're letting that set up, we'll continue the radio setup portion, okay? So if you guys are curious, we do this on Brian Phillips all the time. We show the full unbox, then build, then radio setup on thousands of different products. Sometimes it's all built into one video, but most of the time if it's a plug and fly, it's gonna be two separate videos. This is, of course, published, you know, usually right away, and then the maiden comes out. So if you're finding the unbox build radio setup and you want to see the flights, you can watch that other video, okay? There's playlists for these things. Also head over to bprc.me if you want to see on an exhaustive list of stuff sorted by type. Aircraft type, so we got to change the wing type on this to either a flaperon or dual aileron. In our case, we're going to go flaperon. It's a normal tail type. We'll select an image. I think we're probably going to be the carbon cub. Good enough for me. F mode setup, we're gonna use switch 1 as D, okay? Look at that. That's pretty cool. I've never hit next on that. Spoken flight mode, okay? So this is gonna be highlight, cancel, cancel. This is gonna be AS3X in the top setting. So AS3X is actually AS3X plus, artificial stabilization, 3-axis, and then plus now, but we don't say that very often. It's just kind of assumed at this point. Then we'll scroll way down. All right, they're safe, and now AS3X. Okay, then this one's gonna be off, so highlight that. I rarely use off, just so you know. I set it up in case you hand this over to an old fogey that just can't resist flying without a stabilizer because they call it easier. I don't quite understand that. Off is much closer to the top of the list, so we'll just stay live for this. We only pause because scrolling to the bottom is very long ways away. Then off, then this one's gonna be safe. Sensor assisted flight envelope, sensor assisted flight envelope, which is auto leveling, and limited bank and pitch angles, or pitch and roll angles. We'll pause and come back. Okay, and then safe, I shot past it. Boom. Off in AS3X mode. Okay, walking out. Now channel assign, we're gonna make a couple of assignment changes. Gear we definitely don't want to be on A. Okay, we're gonna set that to inhibit. That's gonna actually be set to G. So highlight and set it to G. That's gonna be for thrust reverse if it works, okay? B is on aux 7, nope, cancel that. We're gonna set it to flap mode. Rotary knob on 8 is fine, we'll just remember that. But let's go ahead and set 7. These are unpluggable channels, so we have 20 channels to play with. Even though that's a 6-channel receiver, it's a 20-channel receiver. But there's only 6 pluggables. So we're gonna use channel 7 as either switch D or scroll all the way to the left and then bring it back one more to F mode. So this will be flight mode on 7. Rotary knob on 8 for the master gains, and then we should be good on that. So we'll come out of the regular menu. Servo setup, excuse me. Rates and expo. Let's set up rates and expo. Switch F. We'll do 5, then 10, and then 20. This is going to give you some basics. You can play with it, see what you're comfortable with. Drop the rates down to 90. This is where we're going to start with 10% expo. Then if you need it to soften up a little bit, you can go here and you have a little bit softer sticks and a little bit less output. And if it's not touchy enough, you can bring it up here and get about half as much expo, okay? The same is going to be true for aileron, elevator, and rudder. So pitch, roll, and yaw. The 3 primary flight control surfaces or axis of control will all be tied to one switch. And you're probably thinking, but Brian, I want to be able to separate those out. Okay, congratulations. Do that on your own time because you're just going to crash anyway because you're going to be like looking for switches all over the place. You're going to make mistakes. I guarantee you won't have time to do it in flight. Okay? Just make it here and then make one adjustment after you land. You're going to know exactly how it feels after the first flight. Maybe you go into a weird circumstance where it's like super thermally or like really windy or really calm and you want to change it and tighten it up a little bit. Go for it. You could do that while you're landed and then you know which one you need to mess with because you're going to know from feeling it, okay? Just trust me, I'm giving you good advice. You don't have to take it, but it is good advice, okay? This might not be the setting you like, but it's still good advice for the beginner because you don't have to do this at all and the plane will still fly. But I'm going to tell you this, if you do this and you do all the things I tell you how to do, the plane will fly good right away and you will be amazed. Okay, differential. Sometimes I set this to switch C. With respect to this, maybe I do like 25% differential. Maybe I do like 50% differential. And now let's do it like this. Let's do 25 down here and then let's, whoops, oh, sorry. Let's set this to 0, okay? So differential means like, okay, so I'm in this top setting. That means that the ailerons are gonna go up and down as prescribed by this stick, okay? When I turn on 50% differential, this one, when I pull the stick all the way over, this one's gonna go fully up and the other one's gonna go down 50%. When I go the other direction, all the way, this one's gonna go all the way up, this one's gonna go down 50%, instead of going down 100% without differential. And then the same is true for this, except it's only 25%. Now, if you want to reverse differential, then when I move the stick all the way to this side, then this one's going to go up 50%, or in this case, 36%, and this one's going to go 100%, and vice versa, okay? So what you're doing with differential is you're saying the more efficiency is coming on the up direction in terms of roll authority, and you're going to create less adverse yaw from the downward movement on the aileron, which, you know, really at the end of the day, you don't need differential on most planes to make them fly okay. But I'm just going to have them set up so I've got something I can turn on, test, and then turn on and test. And you know what? I'm reluctant to do this. I'm sorry to flip flop on you, but I'm going to do it anyway. 25, now 50. So it's going to be an increasing value. So the neutral, then 25%, then 50%. Or I could do like 50% and then 100%. Why don't we do that? Because like what the heck? We're probably not going to fly with differential anyway. That's like the trifecta flip-flop. We've really flip-flopped on this one.
You could just turn it off altogether.
It is off. Now it's at 50, now it's at 100. See? Now we also need to set up a digital switch setup. Select, switch D, switch G. I don't know which way for certain, but if it's like every other receiver / ESC combo, this is going to need to be at negative 100% for forward thrust. Ask me how I know, because I've done it hundreds of times. Okay, then I want my middle position, this position. You notice that little box moves down, tells you what position the switch is actually in. Okay, and then this one is going to be the same. It's going to be all the way to plus 100. And that's going to be our reverse thrust. Now, why would you need reverse thrust on a plane? Because when you have a short runway, you can bring it into land and you can go from forward thrust to reverse thrust, and then you can actuate the output and it will go backward. Now, I may have this backward. I doubt it though, okay? So that's set. So now let's go back to the monitor. Over 1 with this scrolly. When I turn this on, throttle is still the same all the time, no matter what. But there's no middle ground. There's no floating on the gear channel. So it goes, that's the middle step is going to be reverse. That's the toward my belly step. That's reverse as well. All the way forward is forward, right? There's no middle ground. You don't want to float that control. It's a dangerous control to float. Now let's set our timer. I think our timer should probably be 8 minutes. Anything over 25% is going to turn it on. It's going to stay on until I hit clear. Then at 1 minute, I want a voice call out. At 20 seconds, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, I want a voice countdown. At expiration, I want to tone and vibrate with the tone every minute thereafter. Okay. Throttle cuts on.
You didn't set throttle cut yet.
Throttle stuck. Throttle cut, highlight, activate it, acknowledge. The stick is working right now because it's off. Throttle cut is now on. And as you can see, it's stuck down at -100 in the monitor, okay? So we're good there. I'm gonna go back to monitor. Yep, working. Throttle cut's off, everything's good. Now, you can also see that right aileron and left aileron might be incorrect. We'll find out. Elevator and rudder might also be incorrect. We'll find out. Throttle cut's on, throttle stick is down. We're ready to bind this thing, okay? Now remember, at some point we gotta mount the battery.
Yeah.
That's gonna be annoying.
Yeah.
Here's the battery, guys. So let's talk safety for a second. If in doubt, take off the prop. If you don't, you cut yourself, don't send me pictures.
Please no.
Please be careful, okay? There's two things that hurt people in this hobby. Generically speaking, it's props and then batteries. Don't burn your house down. Don't cut your hands off. You need hands. Most people need a house to fly radio-controlled airplanes or their place to live, okay? So please be careful. All joking aside, we try not to pretend to be the nanny state here on Brian Phillips RC, but the truth is we want you guys to be safe. We want you guys to not give us a black eye in the hobby and like go to the ER with a giant chopped up arm. Because then some kid's gonna be like, what happened to that guy? And mom's gonna be like, you're never doing that. Is that how it'll go?
Something like that.
Okay, so listen, how am I gonna keep myself safe? First things first, I haven't bound yet, okay? I'm gonna go into the function list and just be prepared by scrolling down to bind. I'm not gonna go in because it'll time out. I want this here in such a way that I'm away from the prop. From just imagine that being a disc, okay? Secondarily, this is gonna be a little harder to hold because of our current apparatus, okay? So I just need to be mindful about where my hands need to be so that I can clear the prop. Keep in mind, I've done much bigger planes, but this would still cut me up and send me to the hospital for sure. So I'm gonna be careful how I lay this in the plane so that it doesn't get away from me. I'm gonna straddle the plane. I'm gonna hold the plane. You guys see how I'm doing this? If this were to start and I couldn't stop it, I would just wait till the battery dies. It would suck, but I would be able to move away from it. I would make an accommodation. It's not like I'm that dumb, okay? But there are people that are brand new at this that need help, and I don't want you to get hurt because you're given bad advice. Okay, so plugging this in, if something were to go wrong, we would know. It's not armed, it's not doing anything yet. It's just singing a song, okay? So now I can use my index finger where I'm safe, press this button. Come on. Okay, now it's in bind mode. Now, you see how I highlighted bind? You guys see where my hand is? I'm holding the plane. Click bind. Bind yes. Bind. Now it's doing auto configuration of telemetry. Show them the screen. This thing stopped flashing up here on the receiver. So this plane is bound. The timer's already running. I'm gonna hit clear. Things move, throttle, tested, okay? Ailerons move, elevator moves, all the main things move. Throttle cut is working so far. I don't trust the plane until I see throttle work. Throttle cut is now off, I'm in a safe spot. It's going in the correct forward throw. Here's reverse. Works. Reverse, works. Forward thrust, reverse. Throttle cuts on, Okay, good. So now that I have tested those things, I can trust it, at least as far as I can throw it, which is not far because this is all like weird. Okay, so now we need to figure out direction of travel. Normally we would do this without it all janked up like this, but we have to do it this way because of the nature of the cables. So elevator up, wrong. Click, go into function list, go to servo setup, travel, scroll over to reverse, elevator. Elevator up, elevator down. Yaw left, yaw right, that is correct. Now roll left, roll right, that's a tough one because here's the thing that's interesting about ailerons. Regardless of if the plane is upside down or right side up, the ailerons still work the same, correct? But I'll have to probably prove that to everybody, okay? So let's say that I was standing behind the plane right now. Throttle cut is on, throttle stick is down. I say it anytime I get into a place where I could be dangerous. So I'm gonna just flip this upside down. Keep in mind the plane is going backward right now. Okay, so let's pretend for a minute that I could just rotate this. Let's pretend I could, which I can, okay? So I'm rotating it, okay? Now it's sitting in the right orientation, for better or for worse. It's not mounted, but it's at least in the correct angle, okay? Roll left, roll right. That is incorrect. So I'm gonna go over to aileron. They're both wrong. Okay. That is correct. That is correct. Correct, 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 correct. Now, differential, watch this. See, incorrect, incorrect. Why? Because differential, those are not going up more and down less. They're going the other way. That means that our wires need to be swapped. Throttle cuts on. So I'm gonna switch to 2 wires, but then I'm gonna have to switch back my reverses, okay?
Yep.
That's gonna be a whole lot less confusing than doing a bunch of other mixes. Trust me, guys. You want them in the right port. It's just easier. When you start doing flaperons, trust me, you want them to be right, okay? So now listen, all I have to do is just basically switch these 2 wires. Let's hope I can reach. If I can't reach, I'll figure it out. That's gonna be a tough reach, but I think it's gonna work, but just by the skin of my teeth, hon. Look at this, that is really tight. I am not a fan.
You pull a little
Slack?
process out of the wing.
No.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go with it is unfortunately good enough. I could extend them with extension cords too. But like I said, I don't really want to put an extension cord. It's good enough. It's good. Sometimes we just got to leave good enough. Leave well good enough, right?
Are you starting that in the second phase of your life?
No,
Okay, didn't think so.
no. That was just, this is just a
Hilarious
fluke.
joke.
This is just a fluke. Just being a smart aleck. Oh, by the way, LED, green. Is that right over there?
Yes.
Okay. So now obviously there's a battery in there. I can't like trap that in there. So let me get really excited, forget my battery.
Okay.
Okay. Now, remember when we reversed our aileron, left aileron, right aileron? I bet I'm gonna still have to have them reversed. Yep, because it was upside down versus right side up. There it is. Correct, 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 correct. Okay. Now, if that's correct, let's do differential. 100%. Yep. 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 50% differential. No differential. Beautiful. Okay. Very good. So now we can go into mixing. Excuse me. Where's flap setup? Flap system. Put it on switch B. Let's mix 6% down and 9% down. Now let's talk about flaperons versus ailerons. These are inboard flaperons. They will mean that the functional elevator correction needs to be the same as if you had an inboard flap, okay? So what does that mean? That means that when you put the flaps down on the plane, this is the nose of the plane, the elevator is gonna correct down because you're gonna have a balloon. If you have an outboard aileron, that acts as flaperons, you almost always have to go up with your elevator because you will have a pitch down moment because of outboard ailerons, okay? These are inboard, kind of like full length / inboard. If you have the shorter wing extensions for the more sport flying, then it's gonna be almost full length. But because it favors inboard to where the prop wash is, I guarantee you, you're gonna want that to go down, okay? Which is a little bit strange. It's unusual. It's not always that way, okay? So we just need to, if you can't tell what direction it's going, just look at it really close. Down, down, see? I can see it. If you can't see it, just turn it way up. It's definitely going down. So you want a positive number to go down in this plane. And you can't ever tell until you play with it, right? So let's do 6 and 9. Then we're gonna set up flaps. Okay, so this is gonna be a takeoff flap, landing flap. So you're gonna come over here, please. Right there. See, when I give a positive value, they're going up. That is so weird. That's 100% down?
Wow.
That can't be right. That's gonna be super ineffective. Okay, well, come back around, please. I'm gonna clear this. I'm gonna do like 30 and negative 100. I try not to do a negative 100, but you know what we're gonna do? Then I'm gonna go over to servo setup and I'm gonna go to travel and I'm gonna go to this. I'm gonna move it up until I stop seeing movement. So it looks like 150, we're good. So I'm gonna do 150 on both. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. And we'll see. I'm not really expecting the sun, moon, and stars from this flaperon configuration, but we do have thrust reverse and forward thrust. So at this point, we have all the primary surfaces. We got the green light over here working. We've got the red light over here working. Doesn't look very bright. The green light looks pretty bright. So now we have to go through the commitment process of actually putting the wing on. I'm not looking forward to this. So let's talk about what our next move is. Pick up the wing, lean it forward some. Actually, you can lay it up here if you're careful. Those extension cords, do you suppose we'll be able to get those off? I think what I'm gonna try to do is try to rotate this plane back around so that I can reach everything. Like this maybe. Now the stupid plane stand's gonna be in my way. Maybe if I pick this up, I can go in here, wheels in. That might work. You guys see my problem is, if I want to try to take these extension cords out, I could. So that's what we're gonna have to do. To be honest with you on this one, now that we know we have the correct, we got lucky on the rudder and the elevator, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pause, we're gonna pull these out. I just need a second set of hands for a minute to unplug these. All right, so we got those wires undone. That was a little bit more work than I wanted it to be. And then we've got this battery now that has to be dealt with as well. So I'm just gonna those wing struts could have been added at the end, just so you guys know. I'm gonna try to slide this battery uphill on the nothing that's there to hold it so that it pops out up here. And I'm gonna just turn it sideways so that it stays up there. Then this antenna, there's only one, we don't have to worry about diversity, so we'll just put that in. Then all I need to do is just really carefully let this down, okay? Then once it's down and under, we should be good. That was not that bad. It was...
We've done way worse.
It was a pain in the butt. And we want to be truthful about these reviews. I want these planes to be economical for people. But man, there are just some of these steps, it's like, there's got to be a better way. And yet then I sit and think about it and I'm like, yeah, I don't know that there really is a great better way. So I'm trying to be fair to the builders. I'm going to disconnect this battery because I got to get it out of the way to do this next step. So it's out of the way, transmitter's out of the way, don't have to worry about getting cut. I can stick this on, press that in. We can get these 2 bottom screws right after we get the 2 big screws. So these things are gonna slide in from the side, just like before. Doesn't feel like it's all the way in. Doesn't feel like it's all the way in. What am I fighting? Are you kidding me? I gotta be hitting something. Let's see what I'm hitting. There ain't nothing I'm hitting. There's nothing. Pulled the black thing back out, guys. I really don't understand why that, does that not go down further?
There was a little bit of a bump before.
No, the wing's not full all the way forward. There wasn't a bump there. That does drop down. And if you don't get that down, you won't get the keys in. See how that pulls forward? This does go down. Gosh, that's awkward. How did I not fight that before? That's in now. See that? It's flush. You have to kind of pull it in. Then, see how it popped up? Like immediately? Gosh, this is awkward. I feel like I'm like taking it to the...
Making baby airplanes?
Well, I wasn't gonna go that far. But yeah, pretty much. This is awkward. Like what? Did they not put it together?
You had it in before though.
I never did. Not like this.
Oh.
I had 2 screws from the side. I thought I did. I just hope we don't have like a cable up in there all weird.
I don't think you did.
I don't think I did either because I don't think there was enough length.
No.
Well, we'll find out. This is a little bit less compromising position at least. So folks, here on Brian Phillips RC, we're not afraid of looking like fools to help you not look like fools. Okay, so that's tight-ish. And I left it in such a way that it's kind of turned lengthwise. Then I'm gonna flip this over. One of my big pet peeves when I build these planes is when you have to really like jostle a plane around a lot and you have to handle a lot to build it. Because guess what happens when you're doing that? Almost always you get damage on the plane. Now, it might be a relatively minor damage, but it's damage nonetheless. And from where I'm sitting, I don't want to have to damage my crap to build it, okay? Now, in this case, you know, partly our factor is we're usually in a bit of a hurry because we want to try to keep things moving along on these movies. That's why they're 3.5 hours long. Imagine what they'd be like if we weren't keeping that in mind. They'd be like maybe 7 or 8 hours long. We've had longer, actually. Okay, so the wing is installed for the first time. This is one of those models that's just gonna like come together all at the last second. It's weird how they do that. And then I'm like, oh, it wasn't so bad. Except we all know it was. Right?
Right.
Are we gonna just pretend it wasn't? I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna hold this battery though.
Yeah, no.
We can't just shelf liner it.
No. You have to come up with some sort of strap mechanism.
Or pin.
Or a foam chunk to like wedge it in.
We've done that before too. You mean like from another broken, crashed plane or something?
Or from your hordes of garbage.
Where's my garbage? See, look, they're already splayed out all stupid looking from just being handled. See that? Come on, man.
Yeah, that's what you were worried about.
I was. Okay, so let's just, first things first, I already trust the plane, so throttle cut's on. I've got it here in close proximity. I don't know how this is gonna lay out, but I'm assuming this is gonna have to go down there like that. Now, if you look inside, there's wires in there now, okay? But the wires, I can't really depend on those wires to stop this moving, okay? So I think there's a couple of different ways we could do it. I just grabbed this piece of foam from another project And what I really want to do is I want to make sure that I know where this is going to sit. So you know what? Gosh, I am so averse to using that. Let's just put some shelf liner in there to stop it from slipping so that we can check the CG.
Okay.
And I won't glue the shelf liner. How about that? Until we're done, okay? So let's take a larger piece of shelf liner like this. This is shelf liner. And what it does is it allows the batteries, instead of slipping and sliding, with a little bit of resistance, they'll stick. Okay, with a little bit of pressure. There's not gonna be down pressure on this though, okay? Excuse me. So let's just say, for grins and giggles, that these wires become part of the front weight, okay? And let's just say that we're strapped through here, okay? And that helps us to hold everything up front, okay? You know, that would actually work, potentially. Because if you had the ESC, you'd be tangled around the motor leads. That'd be great, because then you're yanking on the motor leads when you're flying. Goodness gracious. It's like they just like, oh yeah, just hurry up and release it. We got to make some money. Okay, maybe that's what happened. Hurry up and release it. We got to make money. That's why we didn't find out about it until it was already released. Quick, send it to the customers. They don't need to know where to put the battery. That's just an serial item. Center of gravity, pretty well balanced. Okay, so my expectation of where the battery was gonna go was almost exactly correct. Or I got lucky, one or the other, or both.
Can you just wedge it in there now?
What do you mean wedge it in there?
With your foam chunk.
That was kind of what I was thinking. Was, depending on how this sits, I got two ways to wedge this. If we make it a lengthwise wedge, I'm more likely to have more batteries that I could use, but then I'm dependent on touching the ESC, which is hot. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. China glue. I'm gonna glue this piece of white foam, okay? Right here. I'm gonna go right here on this material, just like that. I'm gonna slide this back. And yes, I'm gonna get some glue on the, that didn't work very good, did it? It just slipped right back there.
Forceps?
I got them. Just, you're good where you are. Okay, forceps. Okay. So I'm just gonna try to slather a little bit of glue because we're gonna put some shelf liner in there too. So, that's what I was getting at. Or I was getting ready to say. You guys see what I'm doing? I'm just kind of working back and forth. And that's about right for the position. Now I need to guess and check. Yeah, that's about right. I think we can go with that. I gotta get it square though. So it holds the battery square. Okay. So there's that. That can just sit there now. That will actually hold still pretty good. Now, is that enough that it can't pop over the top? Yeah, I do not know. I don't think it is totally enough, but it's totally, it might be enough. Okay, so there's that. Then I'm gonna go like this with another piece, okay? I'm just finding the flatter spots. Kind of a lot of China glue that time. Okay, so we're just gonna put this here and then leave it right in that spot, okay? And then I'm gonna see if I got enough width, and I do. All right, so now I'm gonna take and just do a little bit more China glue on here because I just don't feel like, it's probably enough, but I'm just gonna go a little heavier. And right there it is. Beautiful. Okay, so got that in position. Now we have kind of a block that will hold the battery hypothetically. Now I need to probably do a little bit more trimming, unfortunately, just so I can make this work. I think what I'll do is I'll cut it like this, and then I'll just kind of like put it into that corner, okay? Which again is not my standard operating procedure, but whatever. We're always learning new things on this channel together, and that's part of what we do on this channel is teach people how to do things that they didn't know how to do before for the sake of a hobby that you may have used to be interested. But maybe you're just coming back after a hiatus, or you're brand new in the hobby and you're just learning how to do stuff, okay? Stick that down in there, wrap it up on the side, get that all back into square. And if you're really concerned, you can let that stuff set up for, you know, say 1 minute, and it will actually probably help a little bit. That stuff will set up super fast, and that'll just catch your battery. So it's basically blocking it in there, okay? So now we need to let that work for a minute. So we're gonna pause, clean up the glue, and come right back. All right, so we let things dry a little bit on the battery mount. I wanna show you how we work this out. Throttle cuts on, by the way, throttle sticks down. This comes out here. We've got this one singular plug that will hold down pressure on the battery, okay? Which sits into that little tray now. And this is just made of a couple chunks of garbage foam. By the way, if you don't have foam, you can take some of the foam that's out of the packaging that came in the box, okay? So this slides right in here. It pushes back, catches, and then this gets set in here. I had to kind of squish mine down a little bit. And then this slides right in into the dark point, okay? So that's gonna hold that. Then as a safety check, I'm gonna wrap it around these wires, okay? Then if I get into a real high G maneuver, and if that were to pop out because of some unforeseen circumstance, we won't have a problem, okay? Plugging this in, you'll notice that my arm is right over the blade, so make sure you've already trusted things by the time you're to this point. We should be firmly in the we trust the ESC category, okay? This pushes down. Oh shoot, we're gonna hit there. We gotta trim that down. So one more thing I gotta trim now on my particular apparatus is right there. The foam is gonna hit the lid. The lid drops down a little bit. So I just have to bring that down just a wee bit. And this is part of the hobby, making little adjustments and trimming foam if you're doing foamies. Let's see if this works. Push that in until the black disappears. Then that is still resistant, so I'll make a mark by pressing down on it, and you can see I'm just gonna squish it down. I need to keep the thickness so that it holds here though.
You're hitting your...
Am I hitting the wires?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good catch. Yeah, now it's on. Okay, so now that we did that, you'll also notice one other thing I did is I marked 2200 3S Turnigy, and it's labeled as such right here. I always label that. And then now that we have the plane completely built, I can reaffirm the center of gravity by balancing it on my middle fingers, and it balances perfectly. Feels light on its feet. I think it's gonna be good. So now we've got this little piece of foam. We can keep that
Perfect.
Forever. Into perpetuity. So now guys, we have completely built this plane. We have set up all the control surfaces. We have set up thrust reverse, but we haven't set up forward programming, which we're gonna do now, okay? So lift the plane, spin it around, point the tail toward us. I like to sit for this part if I can. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. Take off flaps, landing flaps. Oh, flap system. I didn't ever set this to 2 seconds. Okay, very good. Okay, so now I'm gonna hold the tail wheel, throttle cuts off, forward thrust, reverse thrust, reverse thrust, reverse thrust, forward thrust. Throttle cuts on, throttle sticks down, everything is working. Differential, more differential. Okay, everything is working. Now, to do forward programming, we have to go in to forward programming, gyro settings. Oh, what was that? Spectrum Wiki?
What?
Never seen that. Port settings, failsafe frame rate, port mapping. Whoa. Wowzers. Look at that. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Okay. Gyro settings, first time setup. Set the model level and hit continue. Set the model on its nose and hit continue. Now this is not where it's getting its exact spatial position. This is just figuring out the way we mounted it, which is right because it's upside down on the top of the wing there, or the bottom of the top of the wing. The bottom of the wing, it's mounted like this. We'll just go with that's correct. Gain channel apply. We want channel 8. So let's see if it does it. Highlight it. See if it picks up. It did. Cool. Acknowledge it and then hit next. And then apply. Hold the throttle, or I mean hold the tail wheel just in case. And then you can return to forward programming. One set of dances. Okay? Gyro settings. First time safe setup. FM setup. So we have to set up the flight mode. So we're gonna click on this. It's not gonna pick it up, so I have to scroll in aux 7. For whatever reason, it doesn't ever seem to acknowledge that. Before setting up safe, flight mode, channel must be configured. We already did. So just hit continue. Flight mode 3 is what we want. Oh, by the way, if you go to previous, if it doesn't update that number when you're changing, it didn't acknowledge it, okay? Or you did something wrong. Okay, so this is where you have to level the plane to fly like it's gonna fly. So like if that's where you want it to fly, then you would capture the attitude there, but I usually like to put a couple of pillows or a pillow to hold this up. A lot of times plane stands don't hold them in the right orientation. So I can slide this up and down the tail boom until I get it flying. If you're pointed nose up, it's gonna fly uphill. If you're nose down, it's gonna fly downhill. And if your attitude is just right, then it will walk on the mains perfectly or fly level, which is what you wanna try to get, okay? So level, model, and capture attitude. That looks about right. If in doubt, do it again. Very good. Wait, was that roll?
Yeah.
Why is there roll and not pitch?
On that little middle piece, maybe it's just not totally.
No. I know why. That looks pretty freaking level to me. But those landing gears are splayed out. So you're saying that that's roll? That's roll. Okay, I'm gonna do level, model, and capture attitude. Now, look at this. See what's going on? Now it's -4, see? See, look, I'm just gonna change this. See, -18? If in doubt, check and then verify, because I don't want this to fly in a circle. I don't think it's level. So I'm gonna roll it a little bit and I'm gonna try this again. That's more like it. Pitch at -2. That I can live with. If it's wrong, you can do that again later. Hit next. Okay, in mode 3, flight mode 3, I want safe to be self-level and angle demand, and I want to open up these to the most amount as possible. These are going to be the limited attitude pitch and roll limits. Now watch, it's going to dance twice. Okay, so that means safe is active. Not necessarily on, but it happens to be on. Return to forward programming. Other port or other settings. That's your factory reset if you want. Gyro settings. AS3X settings. Let's see if our gains are adjustable. Ooh, they look fixed. Oh, they are adjustable. Adjustable and adjustable. But look, on this, none, on. Flight mode setup. So it's active, AS3X. Now it's off. And it's also, you could set up panic if you wanted. I'm not going to set up panic, but if you wanted panic, you could say panic is active. Hand launch assist, you could make it active, but it's not going to really matter. I just don't know what channel it's going to assign for panic. We could set it to that, except we don't have a channel associated with it. That's going to limit it to 30 degrees in any direction.
You'll never use it though.
I'll never use it. Yeah, we want to inhibit fail-safe angles. So that's where you can actually change the angle that you want it to fly in. So I'm going to go back to system setup, disconnect RF, go to channel assign. Let's make an assignment for channel 9 in this case. We'll set it to I. Which, again, I won't use this, but I'm just showing you in case you wanted to do it. Because this is something that, like, a beginner might try to use this plane. So I'm going to go back into forward programming. Was it other settings or just gyro settings? Yeah, system setup, safe panic mode. Panic. Input. Channel 9. There we go. Okay. Good. Throttle to pitch. Nah, I don't know if I want that on, but... Hand launch assist. 1.5 Gs. Throttle at least 70%. Duration for 3 seconds. You got to make this more aggressive, I found. It doesn't do as much as you might think. Only available in flight mode 3. Gyro settings, system setup, utilities, gyro response test. Okay? Now, it's going to respond when I move the plane. This is going to tell us that the gyro is in the correct direction. So, very exaggerated, it's going to resist. Whatever movement I'm making, it's going to resist in that correct direction, okay? So it's going to try to correct by going up. Yep. It's going to try to correct by going down. Yep. Now, ailerons, correct going up, correct going down. This one, correct going up, correct going down. Remember, they're two different channels, so you got to make sure they're both working. Okay, now that doesn't test our gain setup. That's just a gyro response. Stick input test, what's that? Okay. AS3X settings. Right now we're at 1X. Here's the other way you can test your gains. Put it to 4X. Turn the gain knob all the way up. Off. That's AS3X. That's off. That's safe. Okay, now up, down. Yep. Now up, down, up, down. Looking at this, up, down, up, down. What you want to see is you want to see that resist the movement. Is it resisting? Yes, it is. Is it resisting? Yes, it is. Then you have to look at this. They're separate control channels. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, master gain, 100%, 50% of 4, 0% of 4. 50% of 4X, off. Now safe, quickest route to level. Yep. Now look at the elevator. Coming out of a dive, yep. Okay. Coming out of a climb, sure is. Okay, so what do we know? At 4X, the control surfaces are working in the correct direction as prescribed by me. So I'm gonna go from 4X down to 1X. I'm gonna walk out. And this plane is ready to fly. So real quick, final control surface test from here. Roll left, roll right. Elevator up, elevator down. Safe is off. Safe is on. See, there's just a tiny little bit of difference there. Yaw left, yaw right. Reverse thrust. Forward thrust. Throttle cuts on. This plane has been vetted in every way that needs to be vetted. Differential. 50% differential. No differential. Out of flaps. The thing is ready to fly. Okay, so Hobby King, H King, however you want to call this. You're making some planes that are doing well. They seem to be going together okay. This one was a little bit of a pain in certain areas, but it wasn't bad. We definitely grinned and bared on our way through it. Was it the easiest build? No. Was it hard? Not particularly. It was just sort of like awkward at moments, but only because I really wanted a good outcome, okay? Were there a few things that I don't want a beginner to have to do? Yeah. But there again, a lot of these things happen in models. Namely, there should be a place to put a battery. If it's a simple tray, great. If it's a complex tray, even better. But if it's a nothing, that's asking a lot of an inexperienced pilot. I'm gonna swap this battery out. Now, we don't have any telemetry on this plane for pack voltage. So I'm gonna recharge this second battery, or I'm gonna fly from the first one. I'm gonna charge the second one so we can fly both times if we need to. But my biggest issue is we wanna have some sort of an alarm. So I'm gonna use this Predator voltage alarm. They're a dime a dozen. You get them a million different places. I'm pretty sure Hobby King sells something like this. By the way, if you follow the links from the video description below, that'll link you to this plane. And then you buy other stuff. I believe we make commissions on the sales of whatever you guys get. So if you buy something else along with it, that's fine. If you buy the battery with it, great. We'll link to this battery. We'll link to a 2200 3S Spectrum offering. We'll link to the AR631. That was a pretty good fit. We'll link to the NX choices. But this, you go to the negative most plug right there, and then make sure your negative is on there. Plug it in, and then this will alarm when it hits 3.3 or whatever you set it to. So since this is a prop driven plane, I usually like to set my alarms to 3.3. And if any of those given cells goes below 3.3, it's gonna start to chime at me, okay? So there you have it. And then to reload the battery, you just put this in so that everything gets in there the way it needs to fall. Okay. Go up under here, give yourself a little bit of extra added protection, but just make sure it all falls back down. And then the negative most is over here. Plug that in, set to 3.3, and it's ready to rock and roll as soon as you plug it in, okay? So at the end of the day, is this the best, easiest build we've ever done? No. But is it like real bad? I don't think so. It's fine. We've had a lot worse than this. The radio setup went super smooth, namely because we have a 6-channel transmitter and receiver, excuse me, a 6-channel receiver that's actually a 20, okay? So we have tons of extra features built into this. We even set up the panic switch. You have to remind me to use the panic. But at the end of the day, we're here to help the RC community figure out how to put these things together and how to get them in the air with a high level of success. That doesn't mean that flying is easy. Safe makes it a lot easier, but it doesn't make it easy. It still is a skill you have to earn, okay? So if you're watching this thinking, oh yeah, I fly full scale planes, I should have no problem. It's just a totally different skill, okay? Or if you fly helicopters, you might be able to fly an airplane. If you fly quads, you might be able to fly an airplane, but you remember, you can't stop. You gotta keep moving, so you need a bigger space. So lots to consider. If you wanna support Brian Phillips RC, smash the like button right now, click the bell for notifications when you subscribe, and buy these products from the links in the video description below. You'll help support us financially in that way. But if you wanna support us financially, there's 4 other ways. You're not buying this plane. Super thanks for one-time donations or PayPal. You can also be a member on YouTube here as a member, or you can be a member in Patreon, all of which are accepted, and they help us kind of make ends meet. Whatever is being earned on this channel has already been spent for like the next 30 years. So we'll be around for a while. We're building the damn gift shop over here, which is kind of our tongue-in-cheek way of describing this gigantic building. You see our kids out there playing right now. And then there's a giant runway that goes along a dam. That's why we call it the dam gift shop, because it's right next to the dam runway, which runs this way, and our main runway runs this way. And we're about 104 or 5 degrees off of each other. So cross-run strip, that's gonna be 600 by 12. This one's about 300 by 11 to 14 feet wide. And a large apron here. There's gonna be an even larger apron over there. So however you guys can help, helps us dramatically. And just like you, we put a lot of ourselves into this. And so we really appreciate you smashing the like button. We appreciate you watching the videos, but we also want to give you some value back, okay? So if you're trying to get help from somebody and you're getting 1/4 of the way through the setup and you're like, I have no clue what to do, start from the beginning, work all the way through. We won't stop halfway. We might pause, but we'll pick right back up where we left off and we'll get all the way through fruition. And if there's something that's unanswered, there's a good chance we're gonna answer it on the actual maiden flight. So make sure you're watching the maidens so that you can see if we answer some of your questions in that. But if you have more questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll try our best to get to them. We used to get to 100% of comments. We're doing a lot worse at it right now because it's hard to keep up. But the truth is, when this building's done, I'm hoping I can get back on track with that a little bit. It's just been very time consuming. But anyway, guys, we owe you, the only reason we work with all these companies is because they know that you're watching, okay? So at the end of the day, there's no one company that owns our loyalty, but we are loyal to the hobby in general. Any company that's stupid enough to make foam planes in this litigious society we live in this stupid regulated society we live in, we want to encourage them to keep doing more of that, because I love this hobby. And whether it's foam or balsa wood or whatever, airplanes, quads, VTOLs, helicopters, things like that, just aviation in general always seems to be under attack from some stupid Karen or some idiot legislator, even though those same morons need aviation to get around. But I love aviation. I have my whole life, and I especially love RC because it is a bridge between the earth dwellers and the air dwellers. And a lot of times this is where people start, okay? So it's not just about RC for me, but it is about a passion for this thing that is innocuous thing called aviation. And so if you guys watch this and you wonder why I care so much and why I give a crap about all these little details, that's why. Because at the end of the day, I really don't want to see this hobby die for my kids' kids, and so on and so forth. Where else can you go out and hang out with a grandpa, a grandma, and grandkids and actually all be physically involved in something together? It's rare. I mean, you could go to a football game or a basketball game, something like that, I'm sure, but you're not out there playing basketball together with your grandpa. But you can do this with your grandpa, okay? And you can do this with your grandkids. So just remember, there is something special about this that can be shared, and it's an intimate and healthy way to spend time with your family. So let's make it happen. The best way to do it is to keep investing in this hobby. If you need to take a break, that's what a lot of people do. If you're just coming back, welcome to Brian Phillips RC. We'll help get you up to speed quick. And if you're brand new to the hobby, welcome to the hobby. There's a lot to take in. Don't feel bad if you're overwhelmed. That's normal. We'll get you there. It just takes time, okay? If you're expecting a 2-week process, you're probably going to be disappointed. It's going to take longer than that, unless you're just some brainiac genius or very lucky, or you have a lot of skill from back in the past that you can piece together quickly. For most people, 6 months to a year, you'll be able to do it on your own pretty comfortably. A couple years down the road, you can start getting into expertise. 10, 15 years down the road, you'll be good, okay? So I put myself in the moderate to average pilot range. I still get nervous at times, but mostly because it's brand new. When you see me fly, it's always new, okay? Or it's fairly new, like 6, 7 flights. You don't ever see me flying a plane I've flown like 50 times. You know, that just doesn't happen hardly ever. But that being said, we have flown hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of planes and helicopters, VTOLs, quads, all that stuff. And you can check out brianphillipsrc.com or bprc.me, short, same place. And you can compare this right up against its competitive offerings. And you can find out if you like that one better, okay? We don't care which one you get. We just want to put you in front of the right thing. But when you do decide to buy from the links so that we get ours when that's available, okay? We appreciate you doing that. It helps us to fund this whole apparatus, okay? Spectrum, good job. Things are getting better. Exciting new features I didn't notice before today. Maybe because I haven't updated firmware. Either way, we'll find out. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. So much more from Brian Phillips RC right around the corner.